Man, check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown!
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed!
Only on
The Fan Upstate.
Good morning.
You know what it is?
Daddy, how you doing?
I'm real good. I'm real good, Corey LaJoy. I'm real good. Because when we finish the show today, when we make our way across the finish line at 10 a.m., ladies and gentlemen, we will be officially 2 days and 2 hours away from the beginning of the college football season. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Happy Thursday, my dudes and dudettes. The week just screaming on by this week. I am Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, back in the network studio in charge of this thing and everything else that's happening on the radio that you like, love, enjoy, and we collectively as one and as the three-time South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year award winners, are just thrilled to have you along for the ride with us as we move ever closer to the start of the NCAA football season. Of course, the NFL's final preseason week is upon us now, and both of those are giving us a ton of storylines, a ton of intrigue, a ton of things to talk about over the next 4 hours. I am assuming through tomorrow as well, all the way up until we gather once more on Saturday evening. On Saturday afternoon, as we sit in our various lazy boys, on our various couches, in our lawn chairs, whatever you may recline in on game day Saturday morning. Between here and there, we've got all the sports talk that you can handle, and then just a little more. Back in the network studio, the guy in charge of this program and every other program, the great one, Lonzo, is here as well. Lonzo, do you feel it this morning? Are you in the zone this morning?
I'm projecting myself a week from now when I'll be in the zone. I can't go against my own narrative, my own feeling that it's week 0 and there's nothing really good on. I get that you're hyped, and I'm glad for you. And there are a lot of people out there like you, but I guess I'm a casual, and us casuals, we're waiting for meaningful football, which will not take place this weekend.
There is meaningful football that takes place this week. There are teams playing this weekend for whomst a loss could derail the season before it even gets going. If Florida State was to drop one in an upset to Georgia Tech, their season effectively ends before it even starts.
Yeah, I'm doubting your conviction on that. Like you believe that for even a second. I would say maybe, and I'm just guessing. I'm guessing maybe there's an infinitesimal amount of numbers, whatever that is, like 0.005 that you believe that Florida State's going to lose to Georgia Tech.
There is a difference between the belief that something will happen and that something could happen. Those are different. Do I believe it will happen? No, I do not think that it will. There's a reason that the Noles enter as a, by the way, 11.5 point favorite, down from a 13.5 point favorite when that line opened. There's a reason that they are an 11.5 point favorite, but
is that because of betting?
Bigger underdogs lose.
Is that more because of money that the line went down?
So in a situation like that, there's two reasons that a line would come down. Reason number one is that Vegas learned something, some bit of information that has not made its way into the public eye, has been acquired by Las Vegas, and they adjusted the number before that information came out. But the second reason, and in this case, I think the reason that this did happen, and I say it because of how far out from the game that line moved. Ordinarily, if it's information that changed the line, and that information comes out a week and a half before kickoff, and that line moves, then usually by now, 2.5 days, less than 2.5 days out before the game, ordinarily we'd have that information, right? If we found out that DJ Uiagalelei had a bruised left toe and his status was going to be in question, then usually we would know that by now, because if that information made its way to the bookmakers in Vegas, it would slip out at some point. So in this case, the answer is yes. This is about either A, money, or B, number of bets coming in. It means that either A, when the line was at minus 13.5 in favor of Florida State, it either means that a majority of the money was coming in, meaning that whether or not Georgia Tech was getting the majority of the bets is irrelevant. They were getting a huge, the biggest bets, right? They were getting more bets. So a bet, you might have 7 $5 bets over here, but one $100 bet over there. The money's not split in this case. Vegas wants the money split, whether it's coming in with 10,000 $5 bets or 5,000 $100 bets. They want the money to come in equally. So either a majority of the bets were coming in on Georgia Tech by a heavy number, or the much larger bets were coming in on Georgia Tech. Either way, the money was different. And so they moved that line down, basically trying to entice more bettors to take Florida State minus the number so that they could get a 50% bet on both sides of that game, that week 0 game. Because with the minus money, minus 110, which means that if you bet $100 and you win, you're getting 90 back, or the other way around, you got to bet $110 to make 100. Effectively, what Vegas lives on are those minus money bets, right? So if the number is minus 110, and now that the number is at minus 11.5, the number is minus 110 for both, meaning that they have in the game what we call juice. The juice is usually what the casino, it's not like a charge as in you have to accept the charge. It's more the amount of money that you have to, the amount of money the casino takes off the bet. So like I said, at minus 110, we would say there's juice to that number, meaning I've got to bet $110 to win 100 back. And on the flip side, all the people betting the other side have to bet 110 to win 100. So if I win the bet and I bet $110 and you lose the bet and you bet $110, the casino gives me back $100, but they take from you $110. And so they give me your $100 because we had, right? They got equal money on both sides of the line. They got my $110. They got your $110. That was the bet. So that's why they want 50%, because what happens here is they give me my $100 I won, but they take from you your $110 that your bet lost. That $10 difference, that's the money that Vegas makes. That's how Vegas makes their money here. So whenever you hear somebody like me saying Vegas wants 50% of the money coming in one direction or the other, that is why. Because the offset in paying out the people who bet correctly and get it right, the offset is the money that came off of the bets from people that bet the other side. That is a higher number than the number that I took from Vegas. So in this case, your 110 goes to the casino. They owe me 100. That extra $10 they took from you, that's Las Vegas's profit margin. That's why you see those numbers like minus 110, 15, 120 attached to the most likely outcome, right? So, for instance, if you go look at this week 0 line, as a matter of fact, I just got emailed from our friends at BetMGM. I just got emailed the college football week 1 betting lines. So, looking at week 0 betting lines, looking at those lines right now, on the money line, which is just betting the outright winner, right? Just betting the outright winner. That is to say, no points, just whoever wins the football game. Florida State is minus 550. Georgia Tech is plus 400. What that means is if I want to bet Florida State to outright win the football game, I just think at the end of the game, FSU wins. I have to bet $550 for my payout to end up equaling $100. Why? Because Florida State winning is way the most likely outcome. Georgia Tech's money line win, which is to just win the game, in this case, an outright upset win over Florida State. That number is plus 400, meaning that if you bet $100 on Georgia Tech to win that game, your $100 would turn into $400 that would return from you. So how does Vegas make up that difference? Well, what they are hoping is to get half the money coming in on Florida State. That would be all the people that paid $550. So for every FSU bettor that bet $550 to make $100 back, if there is a Georgia Tech win here, then they would take those 550 bets. They would then utilize them to pay out the half of the people who bet Georgia Tech at plus 400, and Vegas would keep that $150 worth of difference. On the flip side, if you get half the people who bet Georgia Tech at plus 400 because they think there is the possibility of an upset, if Florida State wins, even though a lot more money came in on Florida State, the payout's much less, right? They only have to pay out $100 for every $550 that Florida State bettors were to make, but they collected $400 bets from Georgia Tech fans. So they would pay that $400 to the $100 Florida State bettors that risked $550, and that $300 difference per $100 bet is what Vegas would bank on there. So that is why you usually see numbers like minus 110, minus 105, minus 115 when you have a point spread, because it is much more likely that the point spread is around 12.5 points, which the line is now, it is actually down to 10.5 points now. Great one. So Georgia Tech still getting most of the money at minus 10.5 for FSU. They believe that the outcome is way more likely that Florida State wins this game somewhere in the 10.5 point range, obviously, than an upset, which is why the upset numbers are so skewed minus 550 plus 400 versus the line when you take the point spread into consideration of 10.5, where those lines are minus 110. It doesn't matter which side of that you look at. They want half of the money coming in one direction or the other. Interestingly enough, when the line was at minus 11.5 for Florida State, 60% of the money was coming in on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Now that line is at minus 10.5, 62% of the money is now coming in on Florida State. So now we know where the betting public is. They believe that Florida State minus 11 to win this game by 11 points or better is the actual number. And this point spread on the books will hang somewhere in that range, because now they've got about 50% of the money coming in. They will let this line stay where this line is now that Florida State is catching 66% of the bets and 62% of the money being bet. Once the total bets collected for BetMGM, once the total bets collected is at 50%, right? So like $1 million bet on Florida State. Now that if they got $1 million in Georgia Tech bets, which is why that line moved towards Florida State or towards Georgia Tech, if they took in $1 million in Georgia Tech bets and $700,000 in Florida State bets, then they will skew the line towards Florida State. And once the FSU bets get close to $1 million, then they'll shift that line back to minus 11 and try to keep the rest of the bets at 50% each direction. I know that is long-winded, but I hope that it in some way, shape, or form made sense for those of you that maybe don't gamble, but do keep track of what these lines are telling you about individual games and teams throughout the course of the season. So there you go. Little gambling for noobs out of the gate as we are set just a little over 2 weeks away from the beginning of college football 2024 with week 0 action starting off at noon this Saturday when the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech and the Seminoles of Florida State do battle in Dublin, Ireland. We'll address that game as well as the other 3 games going on. By the way, something very interesting I saw earlier in the day, a couple of days ago, Lonzo said that he would not be surprised to see new ACC member Southern Methodist University participating in the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship football game this year. Well, I was taking a look late last night as I was preparing to lay my sweet head down to sleep. And I saw something that popped up from the Kelly Ford ratings. I've had Kelly on the show on the BetQL network a couple of times. And he put up something very, very interesting about the ACC that I want to get to you coming up here in just a little while about SMU and their chance to outperform Clemson in the ACC season this year. It's very interesting. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little while from now. We got some MLB to talk about. The Atlanta Braves dropped game 2 of a 3-game set against the Philadelphia Phillies 3-2 last night, leveling the series at 1 game apiece. But the opportunity to win the series is still ahead of the Bravos. We'll talk about that coming up. We'll get some NFL talk as Bo Nix has been named the starter for the Denver Broncos. He joins Caleb Williams as a starter, Jaden Daniels as a starter. Only Drake May left to be determined from the potential rookie starters. We'll talk about some quarterbacks across the NFL and more. It's all coming up as the Rob Brown Show rolls on. The great one, Lonzo. Rob Brown, this is the Fan Upstate.
This is WWE Intercontinental Champion, der Ringgeneral Gunther, and you're listening to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center, here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. Sunshine today with our high nearing 82. Mostly clear skies overnight with a low around 60. Sunny and 84 into Friday, then clear skies Friday night with a low around 61. Sunny with a high of 86 into Saturday, then mostly clear skies Saturday night with a low around 63. I'm meteorologist Kara Foster on the Fan Upstate. Currently it's 63 degrees.
Michael Joe, good morning.
Have you been wanting to find the secret to losing weight and getting healthy the natural way without drugs or injections? Hi, this is Dr. Elliot Hirschhorn with New Life Weight Loss, and we know the secret to losing a half a pound to a pound of fat every day, naturally, safely, and effectively.
Talk a little bit more.
Calories, no exercising, no prepackaged meals,
okay,
no drugs, no surgery.
I'm also FYI
weightloss.com now.
Yes, Rob Brown, listen, I'm getting married at the end of September, and I wanted to look for him. How about now? I'm talking now. Is that better?
Wow. Okay, we learned something. Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's I think the sound gets a little distorted. And it's partially on actually, you know what? Let me see if my headset's charged. I can see if I can switch to the problem with the headset is that when I'm using StreamYard and I have phones in, it doesn't give my voice back to me. It only gives what's coming through the
Are you using a gamer headset then?
It doesn't matter what headset I use.
Okay.
On StreamYard, it doesn't give me my sound back. So I mean, I guess what I could do is just use one earbud and then leave the other one out, but that still has the sound coming through the speaker, so that actually doesn't help anything. This is why I don't understand if I'm doing something wrong or what, but like all these people that use when they're live streaming and they use their cans from their house, I'm like, what do you like? Are you just good not hearing yourself? And I'm sure some people are. Like I can I can talk when I'm on remote, or I'm using a Comrex or whatever. So I've told you, like, you can talk to me while I'm talking on the air. It's not going to throw me off. Whereas I've worked with other hosts before who get furious if you talk to them in the ear, and they will train wreck the show if you talk to them in their ear while they're talking, right?
Yeah, I've been around that before, but this I still think goes back to your TV training.
Probably to some degree, because television producers never shut the hell up. So that's probably true. How about the amazing Mets? 2 out of the 3 from the O's with walk-off. Yeah, Jesse Winker with a walk-off dinger last night, which was absolutely electric. I can't stand the Mets jersey, Joe, but I got to tell you, as a baseball guy, that was fun to watch last night. Fun to watch. The O's are in trouble, man. The O's have, like, their injured list pitching staff is the best pitching staff in baseball. It is wild. Eflin gone down now. They've had what? I think they've had 5 pitchers go down in the past couple of weeks. The Orioles are having happen to their staff what the Braves have had happen to their lineup. They're just so damn hurt that they can't keep any momentum. But, if you're the Mets, take advantage of that. Well done.
30 seconds.
10-4.
To know about sound if you really want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate on your HD radio at WFBC HD3.
There's just one more thing.
And on your computer at
FanUpstate.com.
Talk to Robin Lonzo. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FANFONE. This is the award-winning Rob Brown Show. Mornings.
On the Fan Upstate.
It is absolutely the award-winning Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown. He is the great one, Lonzo, and we are thrilled to have you along for the ride on our live stream, facebook.com/thefanupstate. You can also search for the Fan Upstate on YouTube. You can join the Rob Brown Show on Facebook or on YouTube or on Twitch if you wish. And, I've never intended to beg you guys before to share the good word of the Rob Brown Show out and about in public. But, it's 2024. We really don't have a choice anymore. So, hey, if you enjoy the show, if we are part of your mornings more than a couple of times a week, if you get up, if you have your alarm set to the Fan Upstate, if you listen to the Rob Brown Show during your drive to work, maybe in the early mornings when no one else is awake and you're up and down in the kitchen, pouring the coffee, making the toast, whatever you do in the AM. If you listen to the show and we are part of your morning, do us a favor. Tell your friends about us. All right? Tell your friends, tell your coworkers that are up early. Tell your family members that are up early, ask them to tune into the stream and give us a shot. And if you are on social media, whether it's on Facebook or on X or on Instagram or wherever else, do me a favor and share the Rob Brown Show. You can find me on all of those platforms at The Rob Brown Show on X, on Instagram, on Facebook. You can do the same for the Fan Upstate. Do us a favor and share our stuff around, because here's the reality. The station is only going to grow if you guys grow with it. The station is only going to grow if y'all grow us alongside you. So if you like the show, if you like the station, follow us across our social media accounts. And if you're not on social media, use the oldest form of communication known to man, that good old-fashioned word of mouth. Do us a favor. Share the good word of the Rob Brown Show, because I'm going to be honest with you. We want to grow the show. We want to get better. We want to get bigger. We want to keep taking this thing to the moon. But you guys are the rocket fuel that get us there. So if you like the show, if you're enjoying the show, please do us a favor. Tell your friends, tell your family, ask them to give us a chance in the mornings from 6 until 10 a.m. All right. During the, I should say last night, as I was getting ready to go to bed, I stayed up late last night watching a little baseball and scrolling the internet just to see what was going on out and about in the landscape of college footy because I was curious. Couple of days ago on the BetQL network, I should say last week on the BetQL network, I have been filling in on the BetQL network's early afternoon show, You Better, You Bet. Initially hosted by Nick Costos and Ken Barkley, but our guy Ken has decided to step away to go search for bigger, better opportunities. So now Nick Costos in the lab drawing up what that new show is going to look like. And Wiley is. They, of course, called old Rob Brown and said, "Hey, bud, could you hold down the fort for us while we get this thing working in a new direction?" And I said, of course, I would be more than happy to. Well, last week we had on Kelly Ford. Kelly Ford runs a website called the K Ford Rankings, and I find it very interesting. Kelly Ford runs an algorithm that takes a lot of different variables into consideration. It looks at the history of programs. It looks at the strength and weaknesses of programs. It looks at the historical home and away record difficulty level of programs. It looks at the individual player stats of different players, game by game, scenario by scenario. And he plugs it all into a big supercomputer. He winds that supercomputer up, and then it spits out, after multiple simulations of the college football season, it spits out the average projections of college football results. Yesterday evening, I went and I looked across the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12, the Power 3 conferences, as it were, to see kind of what the K Ford rankings ultimately look like. And for the record, I actually kind of like the K Ford rankings. I went back and compared some of the old K Ford rankings. It's a pretty good method. It's not perfect, but not even I'm perfect, and I know ball. So I went and looked at the K Ford rankings, and there were a couple of interesting things that jumped off the page at me. One of them is the projected chance to win at least blank regular season games based on the K Ford rankings. And I was scrolling through some of the different conferences, as it were, and there, not many that were uber surprising. There was something very interesting in the Big 12. Nobody projected, according to the K Ford ratings, to win above 9 games this year. Over in the Big 10, 3 schools projected to win either 10 or 11 games. Michigan, not one of them. I went and looked at the Southeastern Conference. 1 team projected to win over 10 games, but then there are 3 more projected to win 9 games, meaning we could have a bit of a cluster in the Southeastern Conference. And then I looked at the ACC. This is very interesting to me, Lonzo. According to the Kelly Ford rankings, Clemson is projected to have 6 ACC wins. They have an 8% chance of winning 8 ACC games, a 34% chance of winning 7 ACC games, and a 67% chance of winning 6 ACC games. Now, I brought you the Kelly Ford rankings last week after I had Kelly on You Bet on the BetQL network. And at the time, Florida State had the best odds to go undefeated in the conference. Florida State had the best odds to win all 8 conference games, also had the best odds to win 7 and 6. Now, Florida State trails Clemson in all of those metrics. Something has changed over the past week that the K Ford rankings, which I believe Kelly runs these every day with new information as it develops from the teams. The Kelly Ford metrics have flipped over and now declare that Clemson is the most likely team to win the most games in the ACC. But there's something else that's very interesting to me, and it is this. He also ran the K Ford rankings on the ACC's projected overall wins. And there's two things that jumped out here. Great one. Number one, the ACC, according to the K Ford rankings, which again, I like. They're not perfect, but they're pretty good. The K Ford rankings, Lonzo, project no teams in the ACC to win more than 9 games. They have SMU with an average win per simulation total of 8.9. Clemson, 8.8. Florida State, 8.7. Miami, 8.5. NC State, 8.5. And Louisville, 8.1 wins per simulation. There are 7 teams in the ACC that the K Ford rankings say win an average of 8 to 9 games per simulation, 0 that average 10 wins, and most interestingly of all, and this is something I talked about when you brought up SMU earlier in the week. One of the things I do like about the Stangs, they do got a cakewalk schedule in their debut year in the Atlantic Coast Conference. The K Ford rankings say that, on average, SMU wins more games per simulation than Clemson, Florida State, Miami, NC State, and Louisville. That jumped off the page at me a little bit.
That's good. If that plays out, that's going to be wild. Them trying to figure out who's going to play for the ACC championship. It's probably going to come down to non-conference. Who they play in non-conference, and SMU doesn't really play anybody in non-conference.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this is something we're going to talk about, and I suspect this is going to be relatively similar conference to conference, and I do intend to bring it up in the water cooler cheat sheet, so stay tuned for that coming up just after 7 o'clock this morning. The top 3 sports stories you need to know in the world of sports before you head to the office. The Southeastern Conference released their tiebreakers in case of case there being a conference record tie in the ACC, or in the SEC. Remember, it is about conference records in the league, not overall records. If a team goes undefeated in the conference but loses every non-conference game, they can still go to the SEC title game. I assume the ACC is going to be set up the same when it comes to the tiebreakers. The SEC tiebreakers begin with head-to-head competition. So if there are 2 teams with a tied conference record vying for one spot, if they played each other, the winner goes. If they did not play each other, the record versus all common conference opponents amongst the tied teams. If they have the same record against common conference opponents, then it is the record against the highest placed common conference opponent. So if both of you played the number 17 team in the country in the SEC, whoever won that game would go. If there is a tie there, cumulative conference winning percentage of all conference opponents amongst the tied teams. So they would take a look at your X amount of wins, my X amount of wins, and whatever the highest winning percentage of the opponents of our overall SEC record are, they would go. If that's a tie, then it's capped relative total scoring margin versus all conference opponents amongst the tied teams. So basically, whoever scored the most and gave up the fewest points. And if that's a tie, tiebreaker 6 is a coin flip. So this is going to be interesting, because I assume the ACC will likely follow a very similar path. But when it comes to SMU, like I said, they got Florida State at home September 28th. That's the only ranked team on the schedule. They've got to go to Louisville. That's the most difficult road game on the schedule. And all their other opponents in the ACC, down the stretch, they got Duke, Pitt, Boston College, Virginia, and Cal. That's pretty much the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the ACC. I got to tell you, Zoe, you picked SMU to be in the ACC championship earlier this week, and I went, yeah, I think that's a little aggressive for season 1. My man, they got a cakewalk schedule. You might be on to something there. We'll talk more about it as the show rolls on. Rob Brown, the great Lonzo, and you. It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate.
Real sports talk.
I think I've got bumper music coming through to me now. Oh, I guess I did.
Yeah, you did the entire time. Hopefully you heard it before then.
I didn't, to be honest. I saw you. I saw you give the we got to go to break look. Morning, Luke. Welcome in, big dog. Give me 30 seconds. We'll be right back.
One minute.
10-4.
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live on the Free Odyssey app. Now, the Infinity Sports Network. Your guide to the gridiron, the maestro of the matchups, and the keeper of all things cool in the sports world. This is the Rob Brown Show.
Oh, yeah. Lonzo's here, too.
This is the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. So we're going to do some college football playoff projections later in the show. And one of the questions that I intended to ask later in the day is there a path for multiple teams out of the Atlantic Coast Conference to make the playoffs? That is something that I think is up in the air, because I do think there's the possibility for a couple of teams within the ACC to finish the season with 10, perhaps 11 wins. There is a distinct possibility that the ACC could end up within 11-1, maybe a 10-2 team that's right there on the verge of the playoffs. Now, I will start by going ahead and getting the conspiracy theory out of the way. That conspiracy theory being that if there is an ACC team right on the edge of the playoff, but there's also an SEC or a Big Ten team right on the edge of the playoff, and the records are similar, perhaps if the power conference team, I am considering the power conferences for the sake of this discussion to be the two big dogs, the Big Ten and the SEC. If the team out of one of those conferences also has one more loss than the ACC team, I think they'll get jumped. But I do think there is the possibility for a team to be right on the edge. Who is that team? I'm going to say Lonzo might be onto something here. And they might be onto something here with the potential for the SMU Mustangs. I like this team a lot. We have talked about it a number of times this year. We were at ACC Media Days. Rhett Lashley is their head coach. I got the chance to talk to Rhett Lashley. You want to talk about a dude who's intense. You want to talk about a dude who he's in that football mindset. And that football mindset never turns off. He is just always intense. Every question you ask him, he is giving you a football coach answer. There is no letdown out of this guy. And on top of that, as we have followed SMU making their way into the Atlantic Coast Conference for the first time this year, SMU has, as we have mentioned, adopted this mentality of, okay, we have come back finally from the death penalty a number of years ago. We have gotten rid of the stigma of the death penalty around SMU football. Now it is time for us to prove that that mentality is gone. And I got that vibe from Rhett Lashley. I also got the chance to talk to Preston Stone, who will be the starting quarterback for this conference. The ACC likes to fashion itself as the conference of quarterbacks this year. Well, I'm going to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Preston Stone is a good one. Preston Stone has the opportunity, I think, to be genuinely a dark horse candidate for the QB of the year, both in the ACC and nationally. I would keep an eye on this kid this year. He might be very, very good. Some questions about wide receiver, some questions about their ability to run the ball with Brashard Smith. He is a senior transfer into SMU. But what is interesting here is I do think that Florida State is a better football team than SMU. I do believe that the Clemson Tigers are a better football team than SMU. What I also think is that SMU has been blessed by the football gods with the schedule that has been laid out ahead of them. Listen to this schedule and tell me if you don't find it interesting as I do. They open this weekend, week 0, on the road at Nevada, taking on the Wolfpack. Week number 2, they take on Houston Christian. Week 3, they stay at home to take on BYU. Week 4, they stay at home September 21st to take on TCU. Not the same Horned Frogs that were playing for a national championship a few years ago. September 28th, they stay at home. This team does not leave Dallas after week 0 until October 5th. September 28th, they are at home for the only team that they play ranked inside of the AP preseason top 25, the Florida State Seminoles. And again, I'm a little down on FSU this year. I think they lost way too much talent to find themselves back in competition for an undefeated run to the Natty again this year. Then SMU has 3 consecutive road games. They are at Louisville, who is going to be a good team this year, but they ain't the same Louisville. They haven't been able to find their next great quarterback as Jeff Brom did so many years in a row at Louisville. Then they're at Stanford, a trip out to the left coast. Then they're at Duke. From October 19th, 7 days later, they fly to the exact opposite end of the country to take on the Blue Devils on the 26th of October. Back home for a pair of games against Pitt and Boston College. Their final road game comes November 23rd when they are on the road at the Virginia Cavaliers, and they're back to the house on November 30th. Rivalry weekend. They have been set for a dance with the other newcomer to the ACC, California. That one is going to be in Dallas as well. When Lonzo brought up SMU the other day as a potential participant in the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship, I said, I like Preston Stone a lot. I think Rhett Lashley has grown up in the last couple of years as a head coach. I like where his head is at. I can't say I enjoyed I say this respectfully, respectfully as I can. I can't say I really enjoyed the conversation with Rhett Lashley because Rhett Lashley is like the king of coach speak. All right. You don't get anything out of Rhett Lashley. It's just a coach speak diatribe every time he talks. But the guy's intense. And if his team adopts his personality, it's going to be a very intense football team in their debut year in this conference. But now that I've really had a chance to look at, to dive into, to really break down some of the schedules of teams that we think are maybe more long shot conference competitors across the big three, the ACC, SEC, and Big Ten. I got to tell you, great one. SMU might have the easiest schedule out of anybody, or at least anybody that's considered to be even a dark horse contender. They have one preseason top 25 matchup, and it's at home. Outside of that, they basically caught everybody that is in the bottom of the barrel of the ACC power rankings. SMU might back their way in just by default as long as they don't blow it somewhere.
Well, the thing is this a step up as far as them playing more talent? We're going to find out where the ACC stands from the division that SMU came from. A lot of people would think they don't belong with the talent in the ACC. We're going to see. If they can compete at all, they're going to win a lot of games there. And I just got a feeling it's odd because we've went through ACC, Big Ten, and SEC, and one or both of us are picking newcomers to be in the championship games of all three of those conferences.
Yep. That is correct. Alonzo selected the Texas Longhorns to play in the Southeastern Conference Championship game. I selected the Oregon Ducks to participate in the Big Ten Championship game. Lonzo selected SMU to participate in the ACC title game. Now, I want to go back to last year's schedule for these SMU Mustangs. They were in the AAC last year at this time. And I'm looking up and down the schedule. They lost 2 regular season games. One of those regular season games was on the road in week 2 when they traveled to Oklahoma to take on Brent Venables and his Boomer Sooners. They dropped that one 28-11. 2 weeks later, they did lose a game on the road that they get an opportunity for revenge for this year. And that was a road trip to Texas Christian University, TCU. They lost that one 34-17 your final, but they did not lose another regular season game. However, there wasn't really anybody else on the schedule that really threatened them, with one exception, which was a regular season wrap up on December 2nd, where they were on the road at number 22, the Tulane Green Wave. They won that game, by the way, 26-14. That was a week after they took on Navy and knocked off the Midshipmen. 59-14 was your final there. So, I mean, look, last year they dropped one to the Sooners, a game that, if I recall correctly, and going back and looking at the box score of that game, just because I want to get it right, Oklahoma put up 14 points in the fourth quarter after SMU had effectively entered at that point desperation mode. So that game was actually a little bit closer than the final score indicates. It took SMU a couple of late tutties to kind of break that score open. They scored a touchdown with 51 seconds left to play. They scored another touchdown with 3 minutes left to play when SMU was in desperation mode. So that game was a closer game than was indicated. The 34-17 loss when they took on TCU, the TCU loss also saw TCU score a touchdown with less than half a minute to play. And a touchdown with 1:33 left to play. Again, SMU in desperation mode. They were only down 4 at the half. TCU, scored a touchdown at the end of the third quarter and then another at the end of the fourth. That was another game that was a hell of a lot closer than was indicated by the final box score. So even the two games that SMU lost last year, they were very competitive against D1 Power 5 conference teams until the very end of said football games. They will have to win a couple of games like that this year. But again, there's one ranked team on the schedule, and it's Florida State. It is to me the shakiest of the top 3 teams in the Atlantic Coast Conference, a team that is going to have to reforge a brand new identity this year. And that game is in Dallas. I'm not going to say if SMU gets in, great one, that they like backdoored their way in. What I am going to say is if you got to build the perfect ACC schedule to give your team the opportunity to win 9 or 10 games, if you got to build the perfect ACC schedule to give yourself an opportunity to be undefeated in the conference, SMU got about as close to building the perfect schedule as you possibly could.
Yeah, if they could have found a way to avoid Florida State, it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's see what happens. I am, as much as I'm poo-pooing week 0, I am looking forward to college football being back and a chance to watch SMU and see if I'm right, because they play, Saturday night?
They late Saturday afternoon. I think they kick off at what time do they kick off? 4 p.m. if I recall correctly. It's either 4 or 7. SMU will kick off at 8 p.m. on CBS Sportsnet on the road at Nevada in Reno. So again, like it's a fantastic tune-up game. And again, I mean, listen, I look at Florida State, who is, as we mentioned just a second ago, arguably the toughest opponent that SMU, not arguably, is the toughest opponent that SMU will stare down. Florida State's got Georgia Tech out of the gate. Then they got to fly back from Dublin, Ireland to play the following Monday against Boston College. Florida State has week 3 off. They've got Memphis and Cal both at home. So Florida State does have a couple of tune-up games. Then they're at SMU. And what do you know for the Noles? The Noles go down to Dallas to play SMU, their first roadie down to Texas for an ACC game before they turn around. And this might be good news for Clemson. The week after Florida State has to go down to Dallas to take on SMU, they turn around and run it back against Clemson the very next week. So if you are a Clemson fan, you're a big SMU guy the week before, hoping that SMU can get into a fist fight with Florida State and maybe wear them out a little bit before the Tigers have to go down to Tallahassee, Florida to take on the Noles the very next week. So there's some thoughts for you that we have on the ACC. The K-Ford rankings say that the likeliest team to win 9 games in the entire ACC, total games, not conference games, obviously, but just total games overall, are the SMU Mustangs, more so than Clemson, more so than Florida State, Miami, or NC State. But do keep in mind that the K-Ford rankings also say your projected final order of finish for the Atlantic Coast Conference is Clemson 1, FSU 2, Louisville 3, and SMU number 4. So there's your K-Ford rankings. Found those a little interesting as I looked at them last night. When we come back, you'll find interesting the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start talking sports this morning. Coming up this AM at 8:40, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast will join the show. We'll talk some Panther football with him at 9:20. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. Time for Fight Club with Great One Lonzo. We have been busy in the world of pro wrestling and MMA. So Lonzo will lead us through your home for professional combat sports. All of that coming up after Lonzo gives you a gold medal caliber sports flash.
Start playing the anthem. The Atlanta Braves dropped a second in a 3-game set to the Philadelphia Phillies 3-2, bringing the series even at a game apiece. Max Fried gave up 2 runs on 4 hits in 7 innings. The Braves collected 9 hits but couldn't find the win despite multiple base runners in the bottom of the ninth. Philadelphia's lead in the East is now back to 7 games, and Atlanta is a game and a half up on the Mets for the final wild card spot. Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz has been suspended 1 game for a recruiting violation involving starting quarterback Cade McNamara. The report didn't specifically list the infraction committed by Ferentz, who has been in charge of the Hawkeyes football program since 1999. Tune in tomorrow night, 7 p.m. as the Burns Rebels get the high school football season started as they head to TL Hanna to take on the Yellow Jackets. It's Burns versus TL Hanna right here on your home for Burns Rebels football, The Fan, Upstate.
Up to the minute, upstate traffic. The Cordell and Cordell crash cam shows an accident southbound 85 before 276 Malden Road. It's got the 2 left lanes blocked with emergency vehicles and a tow truck facing oncoming traffic. The backup is about 2 miles to 385. Elsewhere through the upstate, all roads are clear and you're good to go. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on The Fan, Upstate.
At Ingalls, we're proud to work with hundreds of local farms and businesses in the communities we call home. Not only does it ensure that you get top quality fresh items for your family table, it's a way for us to support the amazing individuals who pour their heart and soul into delivering the very best they can do. Quality, freshness, community, it's all in the bag. Ingalls, low prices, love the savings.
Hey, hungry for lunch? Head to Three Friends Bar and Grill. Enjoy made-from-scratch salads, sandwiches, and burgers. Watch the game while savoring our fresh, never-frozen dishes. Visit us in the Public Shopping Center on Wade Hampton or in Moonville. Check out our full menu at threefriendsbar.com.
Fall is almost here, and the best Upstate deal on golf is on sale now. The 2024 Upstate Golf Card gets you a round of golf at 7 premier Upstate courses, and it's only $80. Order at upstategolfcard.com. 7 rounds of golf for only $80. upstategolfcard.com.
Mad World Haunted Attraction opens September 6th. Get ready for the Upstate's most anticipated event of the year. Mad World is much more than just a haunted house. It's a fall tradition like no other. Enjoy mini golf, axe throwing, carnival games, food, bonfire, roaming characters, and fun for the whole family. Located in Piedmont off I-85 exit 35. Grab your friends and get ready to scream. Buy your tickets now at madworldattractions.com. That's madworldattractions.com.
It's Brian Baldinger with the Journey to Kickoff presented by Hyundai. Houston burst onto the scene last year, led by their young phenom quarterback. After adding a few playmakers in the offseason to bolster their offense, it's fair to wonder if they're already able to compete for a title. Defense coordinators will surely have their hands full all season trying to keep this team in check. Will they take another step towards greatness this season? Journey to Kickoff is brought to you by the all-new Hyundai 2024 Santa Fe, equipped for adventure.
As a roofer, I'm always on the go. So I need to be able to get things done from anywhere. That's why I partnered with Beacon. With their unique Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips 24/7. I rely on Beacon because I never stop building, and neither do they. Now through September 15th, purchase GAF through Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Go to BECN.com or download the Beacon Pro Plus app today. Beacon, always building.
Hey, this is Cole Bryson. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
on record talking about Cooter, Jim Bob Cooter, and we're talking about Thomas Brown.
You gotta say it the right way, Rashad. You gotta say it. You gotta do it, man.
I can't do it.
Jim Bob Cooter.
Come on, Jim Bob too.
I can't do it.
Don't hit snooze. Hit play. The Rob Brown Show. Now morning 6 to 10 on The Fan.
The Fan Upstate. Upstate.
WYRD Greenville.
WORD Spartanburg.
WFBC HD3 Greenville. The official sports voice of you, the Upstate Fan.
Upstate.
An Odyssey Sports Station. Warning.
Man, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents me in Green. Yeah.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get Rob.
Only on
The Fan Upstate.
Let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Just like that, hour number 2 hath arrived. Welcome back, friends, to the Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is The Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Ladzo, with you on a lovely Upstate Thursday morning. It's still morning time. Get over. Listen, we got a long day. We got a long day ahead of us.
Well, you mean you have a long day?
I have a long day ahead of me. That is correct. I get to go today. Great one. To body shop appointment number 4 to find out who can fix the vehicle the quickliest and the least expensivest. That's going to be good. Also hosting You Better You Bet this afternoon on the BetQL Network from 3 to 7 p.m. And then we cap it off this evening with a few more, and this time final NFL preseason games. The Indianapolis Colts in Cincinnati, Ohio to take on Joey B and his Bengals tonight. And Caleb Williams, but not, will be in Kansas City while his team takes on and is hosted by the Kansas City Chiefs and not Patrick Mahomes. Neither team trotting out their starters when the Bears and the Chiefs play this evening.
Hoping to see Carson Wentz throw behind his back tonight. I mean, why not?
So my favorite story is days after Patrick Mahomes throws a behind the back completed, and not like a terrible one, not like a
it's kind of low, but it was Travis Kelce.
Low, but my man was also sprinting to the right. I want you to know I came very close the other day between shows, and I may still do this, although it's not as timely now, but I came very close the other day to going out in the backyard with a football, putting some sort of a target on the big tree that is out in the backyard at the Casa de Love. We got like this big old oak tree that's been out, or oak tree that's out there. I've come very close, and I might still do it. We'll see. To putting a target on that tree, running in front of it, and throwing a behind the back pass just to see, can I hit it 5 out of 10 times in a catchable distance? You know what I mean? I think I may take the camera out there and make a short social media vid out of it, because I think all of us that have ever played catch with a football before, we've all done it, right? We've all done it standing still, winging it behind your back, trying to get that perfect angled spiral to whoever you're playing catch with. We've all done that. Only one of us that I'm aware of has ever done it full speed in an NFL game. And that, of course, is Patrick Mahomes. But here's my favorite story of the week. My favorite story of the week is as we move ever closer to the 2028 Olympic Summer Games hosted in Los Angeles, California, flag football has been added to the 2028 Summer Games. That's one of the things the Olympics have been doing the last handful of games, is they take on, in terms of the games played, you have all the traditional games, but they also take on kind of a unique flair of the country that is hosting for that Olympic Summer Games. In this case, in 2028, the LA Summer Games will have a distinctly LA and American flair, which of course includes bringing back baseball and softball, as well as adding flag football. Well, Team USA has an Olympic flag football team. All right. We have an official flag football team. However, there's a lot of NFL players, including Joey Burrow, by the way, who have been campaigning to represent Team USA at the 2028 Olympic Summer Games in the flag football capacity. Well, as I think you can understand, and we'll talk about this later in the show, as you can understand, the guys that are on the current USA flag football team are a little bit upset, right? Because they've been playing flag football for however long international flag footy has been a thing. They want to represent Team USA in the Summer Olympics of 2028, not get pushed out by the NFL players. Well, there is a campaign going right now, great one, to get Patrick Mahomes as the official quarterback for Team USA flag football in the 2028 Olympic Summer Games, right? Well, 35-year-old Darnell Doucette is the current quarterback for Team USA International Flag Football. He was on a pod yesterday with TMZ, and he said, quote, "I feel like I'm better than Patrick Mahomes because of my IQ of the game. I know he's right now the best in the NFL. I know he's more accurate. I know he has all these intangibles. But when it comes to flag football, I feel like I know more than him," end quote. And then my favorite thing he said, because I immediately thought about you, great one. In another interview published by The Guardian last week, Doucette said that he feels it is, quote, disrespectful, end quote, for the flag football community to automatically assume that NFL players would be the correct representation of Team USA when the sport makes its Olympic debut at the 2028 LA Summer Games. Lonzo, even when the Chiefs are involved, not in the NFL, there's still the disrespect word getting tossed around.
Absolutely. And here's the thing. I get why dude doesn't want NFL players in there. It sounds like an inferiority complex. I don't think it's necessarily he's worried that they're going to take his spot because of popularity. And, more field knowledge in flag football, maybe. He has that right now, but I haven't watched Darnell play. I'm guessing either Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes would be picked easily over Darnell. Just saying.
Look, let's call it what it is. I absolutely think there should be tryouts. I think Doucette should be able to get out there and compete to earn the starting quarterback nod, just like if Joey B or Patty M or whoever else wants in, they should have to go out there and prove, because it is a different game. It is a different game.
Is it though?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, you're still throwing and catching. Trying to get someone to not take your flag. I get that part, but the basics of the game are still the same.
I spent, Lonzo, 4 years as a wide receiver and a middle linebacker for my fraternity college flag football team in the highest level of combat. It is the only sport that in intramural fraternity league athletics at my school, it is the only sport that we were in the top division of, all right? Where I went to school, we had multiple divisions. There was like the big frats, then there were the middle frats, then there were like the frats that had like 10 dudes in them, and there were different divisions of athletics. The only sport that we were in the top tier division in, because we were a bunch of geeks, nerds, and former glory athletes, was flag football. As somebody who played both, neither at a high level, but played both, yes, at its core, the fundamentals are the same. Throw, catch, whatever. but it is a different game than tackle football, and there is a different skill set involved. But I'm saying, open tryouts. Let my man Darnell Doucette go out there, and if he, listen, straight up, just like I said about Diana Taurasi on the women's side, Jason Tatum on the men's side, at the end of the day, the only thing that I care about is that we send the best possible team. If my guy goes out there and we have open tryouts and Darnell Doucette outperforms Patrick Mahomes, then hell yeah, send his ass. For sure. I want the best to go, but I also understand where he's coming from. I don't think it's inferiority complex. Imagine spending years of your life getting really good at something, thinking your time has finally come, your opportunity is finally there for you to reach out, carpe diem, seize this moment, and then at the last minute, the people in charge go, actually, we're going to give it to that guy instead. It's happened to me. I spent years getting ready to host a show on a station I worked for down in Destin, only for 2 days before the start of the show I was supposed to host, I got called in the office and told, actually, we're going to bring in another guy to host. You're going to keep producing on that show. I was devastated. I get it from my man Darnell, but at the end of the day, just like that host, it was all about making sure the ratings were as good as possible, and they believed he could do a better job. If you get beat by Patty M or Joey B or whoever else, man, I'm sending the best I can send, because the last thing I want, great one, is for them to introduce flag football at the Olympics and Team USA doesn't bring home the gold as an automatic.
So what you're saying, it would be better to send Darnell, because if they lose, you could blame it on them not using NFL players, and then the next Olympics they could bring in NFL players, and then to save the day.
Did you miss the point where I said have an open tryout? I'm not saying send Darnell Doucette. I'm saying have an open tryout. Let my man go head to head,
They're not going to do
one-on-one
that,
with the great one, Patrick Mahomes, and let's see what happens.
They're not going to do that. They're not going to do open tryouts. Come on, Darnell. I mean, have fun while you can. When the Olympics rolls around, I know it's your dream and everything, but there's some other guys who are definitely better than you.
I mean, at regular football, I don't know about flag. It's a different sport. All right, we got about 58 minutes till we got to get yo ass to work. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us, in a very abbreviated format, run through this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworker saying,
"Screw you guys, I'm going home."
Take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Tom's cousin, William Brady, in the chant said Mahomes would serve Doucette in a ramekin. That's a wonderful callback, William Brady. That's great work. That's great work. Comedy at its finest. Ladies and gentlemen, the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office this morning and start talking sports. Let's dive right in, and very quickly with item number 1. The Atlanta Braves had the opportunity to win the series outright against the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday evening, but unfortunately for the Bravos, came up just short, dropping game number 2 of the 3-game set 3-2 last night to the Phillies. You had a pretty decent night from Max Fried, gave up 2 runs out of 7 innings pitched on just 4 hits, K'd 4 through 7 as well. Matched up very well with Aaron Nola, one of the 2 top pitchers for the Phillies. The Bravos chased Nola, taking 8 hits out on him and chasing him after just 5.1 innings pitched. The Bravos earned 2 runs earned against Aaron Nola last night before they forced the Phillies to remove him from the contest. Overall, the Atlanta Braves collected 9 hits to the Philadelphia Phillies 5 last night, but unfortunately, in the bottom of the 9th, trailing by 1 with multiple runners on the bag, the Bravos were just unable to get it done. There was a very, very questionable moment late in that game with Orlando Arcia on the dish, runners at second and third, when a very clear ball thrown on an 0-3 pitch, or excuse me, a 3-0 pitch, a very clear ball was ruled a strike. It moved the count to 3-1. Arcia would ultimately end up grounding out. So instead of the bases loaded with 1 out, there were runners on second and third with 2 outs. And nothing could get done with the baseball to find a tying run in the bottom of the ninth. So Philadelphia takes game 2. And the series is now level, 1 game apiece, with the final rubber match game between these two squads scheduled for this evening at 7:15. Atlanta now 67-59. They are back to a full 7 games behind the Philadelphia Phillies, and their lead over the Mets for the third wild card spot has decreased to 1 1/2 games. Again, game 3 between Atlanta and Philly tonight at 7:20. Let's go to item number 2. Over to the WNBA for just a minute. Tina Charles has been in the WNBA for a number of years, and now she's got her name in the history books. The Atlanta Dream knocked off Phoenix 72-63 in Georgia last night, their 3rd straight victory since the Olympic break, but it was Tina Charles, 12 points and 17 boards, that made the news. Why? Because Tina Charles now has a career total of 7,941 WNBA points. She surpasses Tina Thompson for the number 2 all-time scoring leader in the WNBA. She is now the 2nd most successful scorer of all time in the W. There is one name that she still trails. That name, Diana Taurasi, still the all-time WNBA leading scorer with 10,500 points even. And oh, by the way, she is still in the show. Tamika Catchings is now the 4th highest scorer, a few points behind Tina Thompson, who is number 3. DeWanna Bonner is 5th on the list. Bonner obviously still active in the league as well. 7,327 points, has the opportunity to surpass Tamika Catchings by the end of the year. Tina Charles, now the number 2 all-time scorer in the W. Let's very quickly go to item number 3. Kirk Ferentz is the head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Kirk Ferentz will now be sitting out game number 1 when said Iowa Hawkeyes travel to host Illinois State in game number 1. Ferentz is the nation's longest tenured FBS coach, having led the Iowa Hawkeyes since 1999. Yesterday, according to media reports, Kirk Ferentz, after an NCAA investigation into the recruiting of quarterback Cade McNamara, caught a 1-game suspension for portal recruiting violations. Now, we do not yet know exactly what that violation is, what it is that Kirk Ferentz did to catch this 1-gamer. And these are the types of things, for those of you that say, I don't have a problem with the portal, but I think there should be guardrails. For those of you that say, I don't have a problem with the portal, but there should be protocols, there should be rules, there should be guidelines. Well, here's your opportunity. Number 1, there clearly is, because Kirk Ferentz just caught a 1-game suspension and will miss the season opener for Iowa because of it. But number 2, this is where I would say to the NCAA, hey, do me a favor, tell us why. Put it out there. Tell us what he did. Tell us what happened so that we can make sure that coaches who commit portal recruiting violations, just like they commit regular recruiting violations, can be punished, can be hammered, can be knocked down. By the way, McNamara joined the Iowa Hawkeyes December 22nd after he started for Michigan in 2021 when the team won the Big Ten and reached the college football playoff, sustained a season-ending leg injury in the 3rd game of the 2022 season, transferred to Iowa after that, and apparently getting him there was because Kirk Ferentz did something illegal and will now miss game 1 of the season. When we come back here in just a minute, let's talk a little bit about college football playoff projections, which teams might be in, which teams better get in, which teams might be screwed out. We'll talk about that when we come back in a minute. Rob Alonzo and you, the Rob Brown Show, the Fan Upstate.
New life.
Real, unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show.
Upstate.
You know, I got a call about 3 months ago from one of our lovely folks downstairs, and they said, "Hey, Rob Brown, I know you're getting married in a couple of months." And I said, "Wow, that's so kind of you. Thank you." And they said, "I'm not calling to talk about that. I'm calling to ask you if you would be interested in a partnership with New Life Weight Loss." And I thought, I don't know about that, man. I'm a little apprehensive about it. There's a lot of sacrifices you got to make. I don't know if I'm ready for that. And they said, "Hey, do me a favor. Go to their website at mynewlifeweightloss.com. Check them out. If you're interested, we'll do it. If you're not, that's okay too." Well, I've done weight loss programs before, and I've done weight loss programs before where effectively you're allowed to touch a piece of celery and to sniff a grilled chicken breast, and that's your weight loss plan. New Life's not like that. New Life Weight Loss is a medically driven weight loss program. They are going to take a look at your body's unique physiology, the things that make you, you. And when they do, they're going to build a weight loss plan that works for you in your life. They're going to help you put together food ideas that avoid foods that ding up your metabolism and help you find foods that accelerate it. They're also going to find a weight loss plan that fits into your schedule, into your life. And trust me, if they can do that for me, they can do it for you. My life is more hectic than the overwhelming majority of yours. Oh, and by the way, if you call New Life right now and you mentioned that you heard about them on the Rob Brown Show before the end of August, before August 31st, 9 days from now, New Life will give you $250 off the program, y'all. I am down over 44 pounds. I am down 10 inches off of my waistline. New Life has worked for me. New Life will work for you. Again, give them a call at 864-686-5820. Mention you heard about them on the Rob Brown Show before August 31st, and New Life will give you $250 off the program for being a listener to the show. 864-686-5820. It's New Life Weight Loss. All right, dudes and dudettes, we're back. Thanks for hanging in there.
Football is back on
30
August
seconds.
23rd as the Rebels travel to TL Hanna to open the 2024 football campaign. With Nixon Field getting a much-needed facelift, the Rebels will be on the road all season long. Join me, Lane Fowler, and Sam Clark
QC in the
every
next break.
Friday night on
10-4.
97.1 FM in Spartanburg, 97.7 FM in Greenville, and on the free Odyssey app. Orange football powered by Founders Federal Credit Union and your local Ingles Market.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio, rolling through hour number 2. Rob and the Great One Lonzo with you here on the show. This beautiful upstate Thursday morning. NFL preseason action picks back up tonight, the last week of the preseason before we get to week 1 of the NFL season next weekend. And of course, we get to college football week 1 next season. College football has the spotlight all to itself coming up on Thursday a.m. Well, I guess technically p.m. when the Knowles and the Ramblin' Wreck kick off on Saturday morning, ladies and gentlemen, just like that. And then before you know it, September 4th will be here. September 5th, I should say, will be here. That first matchup will take place between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs at 8:20 p.m. on the 5th of September. And then it is full speed ahead. A Friday night matchup between the Packers and the Eagles. And on Sunday, everybody else gets underway with the exception of the Jets and the Niners, who have that first Monday night football contest of the season. But we are in college football mode with week 0 going on right now. Want to take a look at some playoff projections, some prognostications, if you will. Who are the teams most likely to get the 4 byes in this college football playoff? Well, I am going to start with your obvious 2. I guess I should really say 3. Those would be the champions of the ACC, the SEC, the Big Ten, and of course the highest remaining conference champion. Well, Lonzo and I have spent the last couple of days doing our preseason prognostications for the conferences. Winning the Atlantic Coast Conference, I am going with Clemson to get back to the glory days and capture the conference crown once again. I think Florida State lost too much to be able to get where they were. Lonzo on the flip side, sticking with the Knowles to do it back-to-back seasons. Whoever wins that will get a bye. Out of the SEC, Lonzo selected, correct me if I'm wrong, Georgia to win the conference. Is that correct, Lonzo?
Yes.
Lonzo selected UGA to win the conference. I went a different direction.
No. I picked Texas.
Oh, you picked Texas to win it. You picked them to play Georgia. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I can't remember if I picked. I believe I picked Texas to win it. And
okay.
Yes. So whether I did or not before, I am now Texas to win the SEC.
Well, right now is all that matters. Lonzo selects Texas to win the SEC. I am picking Bama. And then out of the Big Ten, the Great One taking the Ohio State University Chess Nuggets. Horse chestnuts. Chess Nuggets. That's inappropriate. That seems like I shouldn't have said that on the radio. That seems like not okay.
If you would have just kept going, no one would have thought about it. Now I'm like, okay, what is that? Oh, okay. That could be that. Okay.
Yep.
Just moved on.
Sure could. Lonzo has selected the Ohio State Horse Chestnuts. Rob Brown selected the Oregon Ducks. There is only one group left to pick here, Great One, and that is who earns the final round bye, the next remaining highest conference champion. Well, there's obviously a ton of conferences out there that it could be from. Could we have a group of 5 champion that steals it? I am going to say the answer is no. I actually have a team out there that I think is going to take this spot, and I think they are going to take it out of the Big 12. And that is the Utah Utes. They are my fourth team to get a bye. Clemson, Alabama, Oregon, and the Utah Utes. Cam Rising comes back this year. Cam Rising is, of course, entering his 17th season as a college football quarterback this year. Maturity will be no question for Cam Rising. And oh, by the way, Kyle Whittingham, following the Urban Meyer trajectory at Utah, becoming one of the most intriguing and fastest rising coaches in the college football ranks. I very much believe that Kyle Whittingham is likely, unless he decides to stay at Utah, likely going to be one of the most sought after coaches for the next big time Power 5 conference job, or I guess I should say Power 2 conference job that comes open. On top of all that, one thing we don't ordinarily think of when it comes to Big 12 football, this team's going to have a stingy defense this year. This team has got a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball, both homegrown and a handful of portal guys who immediately upgraded some pieces. Lonzo, I don't know if you have a pick for the fourth team to catch a playoff bye, but I am going with the Utah Utes out of the Big 12.
Well, if we're going to have to pick something out, and the Big 12 is the last big conference left, right? I mean, if you after the ACC, I suppose.
No love for the Pac-2, Lonzo.
No love for the Pac-2. So because I'm looking at the Big 12 teams, and of course, more teams moved into the Big 12 because there's movement all over the place this year. I'm just going to be a homer and go with Cincinnati.
Cincy, says the great one, catching that last bye. Not a bad pick. Honestly, not a bad pick. What I will say is this. Very likely that whoever that next group is going to be pained, because I don't know that there is room in the top 12 for another one unless we have a couple of Group 5 teams that go undefeated and they have a Power 5 win or a Power 2 or 4 or whatever power number we're going with here. Unless they have a top 25 Power 2 or Power 3 win or Power 4 win in there, I don't know if it's going to matter. There's a couple of candidates I think are out there. I think the Boise State Broncos out of the Mountain West are a possibility. I think the UTSA Roadrunners out of the AAC, now that SMU is gone, I think they're the next big ones. Out of the Sun Belt, how about Appy State? Haven't had a losing season in the last decade. Since joining the Sun Belt in 2014, they have won 95 games, the most of any Group of 5 program over that same span. The Liberty Flames out of CUSA have the highest chance of any Group of 5 contender to win their conference at 42%, according to ESPN. But while they likely will go undefeated, they have the 134th most difficult ranked schedule in college football based on win percentage, and they do not play a single Power 4 opponent. You've got Miami of Ohio, the Redhawks, out of the Mid-American Conference. They are right there. I don't hate the pick of Cincy, but I think in year one, the Big 12 is going to end up in there. So let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Let's talk about the teams that might just barely miss out. Let's talk about, if I may put it into college basketball terms, let's talk about the first 4 out. Because I got a list of teams that I started putting together last night, of teams that I think could be the first 4 or 5 teams that just miss out on the playoffs. And I started putting this list together last night. Great when I did so, taking into consideration the schedule that these teams are playing, taking into consideration the talent that these teams have, and perhaps most importantly, taking into consideration teams that I think are dark horse threats to win the conference, but will come up just shy, and there may not be room for them. When we come back here in a minute, I'll tell you who they are, and I'll tell you something very interesting. When I put together this list and I started going through these teams, great one, something very interesting happened. The overwhelming majority of teams that I put at the top of this list all came from one conference. The rest came from one other conference. I'll tell you which two conferences I think are going to be the most damaged by the 12-team playoffs, at least in year number one, when we come back on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
QC.
You're listening to the Rob Brown Show. Let the game come to you, no matter where you go. In Anderson, Clemson, Greenville, and Spartanburg. Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to tell you about our friends at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in non-surgical regenerative therapy. For joint pain, if you are dealing with joint pain, that'll make you miserable, right? You know the feeling. When you wake up in the morning and you roll out of bed and your hips hurt. When you're just walking around at the office and your knees are killing you, when you want to get out there and do something, but your lower back is just, it takes you out of action. You know the feeling. You also know that you don't want to know that feeling anymore, right? Well, that is where our friends at QC Kinetics come in. QC Kinetics offers a therapy that uses your body's own natural biologics. That is to say, it reminds your body how it used to regenerate the connective tissue inside your joints. It reminds your body how it used to restore that connective tissue back when you didn't deal with that joint pain. You know what I mean? And once your body remembers how to restore that connective tissue, courtesy of QC Kinetics revolutionary therapy, that joint pain comes back, that joint pain goes away, and you, my dear friends, are back to everything that you have missed out on about your life. This therapy has been sought after by professional athletes for years, and now QC Kinetics has tens of thousands of satisfied patients around these United States. They now offer this therapy right here in Greenville. Go to their website, qckinetics.com, QCKINETIX.com, or call them today at 864-448-3772, 864-448-3772. I want you to mention the Rob Brown Show. I want you to get your consultation for free, and I want you to get back to feeling better, faster, naturally, and get your life back with QC Kinetics.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. Panthers and Braves.
All right, we're back. Thanks for hanging in there. I haven't gotten a chance to watch Dynamite last night. Actually, I haven't even caught up on NXT yet. I just barely finished Raw. But I just came across a clip of the Saraya Tony Storm match, Alonzo.
Yeah.
Woof.
Is that a good wolf or a bad wolf?
Oh, bad. Have you not seen it yet?
Yeah, I watched it.
Oh, awful, dude.
But our opinions sometimes vary on whether something's good or not. So
I can't imagine a world in which you thought this match was good.
no, I didn't.
Okay, good.
97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg. Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app.
Upstate.
Rise and shine, sports fans. Let's drink! Grab your coffee and get a jolt of sports on the Rob Brown Show with Lonzo. Now, weekday morning 6 to 10 on the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob the Great One Lonzo with you talking college football playoff projections as we get ever closer to the season. Week 0 starting up here on Saturday at noon when the Florida State Seminoles and the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck Yellow Jackets get it on in Dublin, Ireland. Been looking forward to this, y'all, for a long time. Right now, talking about some of the teams we think will get in, some of the teams we think will miss out. As we have it right now, our 4 buys as it stands right now. Lonzo has FSU winning the ACC and getting a bye. I have Clemson winning the ACC and getting a bye. Lonzo has Texas winning the SEC and getting the bye. I have Alabama. Lonzo has Ohio State winning the Big Ten. I have the Oregon Ducks in their inaugural season. And for the 4th bye, the next highest remaining conference champion, Lonzo is taking the Cincinnati Bearcats. Rob Brown taking the Utah Utes behind Kyle Whittingham and Cam Rising. Let's go to the other end of the speculation here. Let's go to some teams we think might miss out on the conference football playoff, on the college football playoffs. The teams that are going to be sitting around that 11, 12, 13, 14 mark and could finally end up getting dropped out. I got a couple for you. And when I started putting this list together last night, great one, something very interesting developed. And I will acknowledge that it is something that goes against a narrative that I have discussed on this show many, many times. But as Dave Chappelle said many times, it is very important that we keep it real. So I'm going to keep it real with you for a minute. When I started going through some of the times, some of the teams that I think could just barely miss out on the college football playoffs, Lonzo, the first handful of teams that immediately popped into my brain, based on a combination of who they play, when they play, where they play, et cetera, as well as the other teams that I think will finish around and above them. For the first 4 teams that came into my brain, the first 4 teams, all SEC squads. Here are the teams that popped into the old noodle when Rob Brown was putting this list together. The first team that came into my brain, the LSU Tigers. I've got the Tigers finishing somewhere around 13 to 15. This is very interesting. Why? Because the LSU Tigers have themselves a very interesting schedule this year. We know they open with USC. That game is out in Las Vegas. They've got South Carolina coming to the house in week 3, but then they have a stretch where they've got Ole Miss, the number 6 preseason ranked team, Arkansas, a team that is even though not a widely recognized one, that's the battle for the boot. That's a bit of a rivalry game, and Sam Pittman will be coaching for his life by this point of the season. Then they're back home to take on the Colts after the trip to Arkansas. Then they've got Alabama. Couple of easier games down the stretch as they go to Florida, but that game in Gainesville, remember, for years, that has also been, or at least the SEC tried to force it as, a rivalry game. That was the cross-divisional rivalry game that stuck on the calendar for both of those teams. And then they end it against Oklahoma. Brent Venables' defense coming to town. LSU has an interesting schedule in that of the teams out of the SEC that I think will be in consideration. I think this is one of the teams that, despite being in one of the better conferences, if not the best conference overall, this is a team whose schedule might hurt them in the long run. This is a team whose strength of schedule might hurt them in the long run, specifically if they lose a couple of the games, let's say Ole Miss and A&M, or A&M and Alabama, or Alabama and Oklahoma. I think this team is finishing likely 9-3 and just outside of the mix. Here's another one. How about the Missouri Tigers? This is a team that people have been doing their best to convince you are going to be in the mix. And I think that there is a chance that they will be. But Mizzou is another team out of the SEC who, if you believe that, and I'll ask Lonzo here in a second if he does, because this year, more than years gone by, I do. I think strength of schedule is going to be a massive factor for a lot of teams that are in this 11, 12, 13 range. Those teams that have maybe 2 losses and they're right there in the mix. I think strength of schedule this year, and maybe more appropriately than years gone by, is going to be a massive factor in who makes their way into the college football playoffs at the bottom of the list. Mizzou, like LSU, is a team I think could get hurt by theirs. They have 3 preseason top 25 teams. They are at Texas A&M on October 5th. They are at Alabama on October 26th. And they are at home against Oklahoma the next week, Saturday, November 9th. Outside of that, Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, Massachusetts, Auburn, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and they wrap it up against Arkansas. I don't think the strength of schedule is there for Missouri, and I think they could be left out even if they go 10-2 this season. I think both Missouri and LSU are missing the cut. So before I move on to the next team, great one, I will ask you, do you feel like I do that 4 teams that are checking in around that 11, 12, 13 number, strength of schedule will be a factor that is under the microscope by the playoff selection committee more so this year, perhaps, than in years gone by?
Oh, without a doubt. And I think there's going to be probably some bigger teams down there near the bottom. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I do too. In fact, this is one of the things that I think, and this I do think this will be good for college football down the line. And I think this will be good for college football down the line because I think now, maybe more so than in years gone by, I think there is now a motivation for teams to schedule a good out-of-conference game, right? I think that, so for instance, LSU and Mizzou, conference schedules kind of about the same, right? But remember, LSU's got that matchup against USC to open the year. If LSU goes out to Las Vegas, Nevada, and they knock off USC, even though most of us believe, I think, that USC is once again a bit overrated and need to prove themselves before we buy into the hype wagon again. If LSU wins that game over USC, Mizzou doesn't have an out-of-conference matchup that can level that out. That would put LSU, in my opinion, that would put LSU ahead of Missouri in these rankings, which means if these two teams are sitting there at both at 10-2 and 12-13, all of the sudden, I think that LSU gets the nod. I think this could down the line lead to college football programs being a little bit more invested in scheduling 1, maybe 2 good out-of-conference games, knowing that even if they take an L, it bumps up that strength of schedule just a little bit. Here's another team I think is going to be right on the verge. I like this team a lot. I actually think this team has a very good chance of getting in. It is a team that we mentioned by name, or at least I did yesterday on the show, because I think behind Nico Amaliva and Squirrel White, I think the Tennessee Volunteers have given themselves a chance. And oh, by the way, they do have one of those out-of-conference games. They've got NC State coming to the house in week 2, September 7th, when they get it on with the Wolfpack. Tennessee has 4 preseason AP Top 25 matchups on the books. They do have number 24 NC State, as mentioned. They are also at Oklahoma, back home against Alabama. They've also got Georgia on the schedule, the number 1 ranked team in the United States, on November 16th. I think Alabama's beating Tennessee. I think Georgia is beating Tennessee. That's another 10-2 bubble team. Here's the thing. I think because of that game against NC State, which I do think that they will win, because of that game with NC State, I would slot Tennessee, if these teams are all jumbled up at the bottom of the top 12 list, I would slot Tennessee, assuming they're all 10-2, behind LSU and ahead of Missouri. And then there's Oklahoma. This is another team that I find very interesting this year. The Boomer Sooners schedule for their first year in the SEC. They have got 6 AP Top 25 teams on it. This is one of the teams that I think, while they do not have the out-of-conference big-time matchup like LSU does and like Tennessee does, they have a dramatically more difficult in-conference schedule this year. They've got number 15 Tennessee, number 4 Texas in the continued Red River rivalry, number 6 Ole Miss. That game is on the road. Then they have at number 11 Mizzou and at number 13 LSU. I think Oklahoma is likely going to finish this season probably closer to 8-4 or 9-3 than they are 10-2. And obviously, all these teams we're talking about all have a direct impact on each other, right? Tennessee and Oklahoma play, Mizzou and Oklahoma play. So it's not likely that all of them will be jumbled up, but this is another team that I think, if Brent Venables takes the step up this year, that many people think that Brent Venables will take the step up this year, this is another team that I think could very well find themselves at that 10-2, 9-3 level, but it may be just not enough to get in. Let's run through a couple more before we get to the break, because I know we're right up on it. How about Michigan? The Michigan Wolverines, the defending national champions. I don't think they're going back. 28% of their offensive production from last year returning, all the rest of it gone. 72% of their offensive yards, Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy, gone. They've got Texas on the schedule. They've got Oregon on the schedule. They've got Ohio State on the schedule. They've got, well, I don't think they are a big threat because, well, I won't until they actually win one. They've got Penn State. No, actually, they don't. They don't have Penn State on the schedule that year. This is right. This is why Penn State has a bit of an advantage. They don't have Michigan this year, but with Texas coming to town out of conference, I think this team's probably at best looking at 9-3. And oh, by the way, there's a bit of a trap game sitting between them and Ohio State with Washington. And I do think Washington is down, but not out at this point. I don't think Michigan's going. Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy. The Cowboys have had a winning record in each of the past 18 seasons, the 3rd longest active streak in the FBS, but they've yet to reach the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be different this year, despite the fact that I love Alan Bowman, one of the most underappreciated quarterbacks in college football this year. Defensively, Jim Knowles left for Ohio State, and the defense has dropped off dramatically. The Cowboys, out of the Big 12, I think that's a 9-3 team that's not going to get in this year as well. So there's some of the teams I think could just barely get left out of the college football playoffs. Any you like, any you don't like. Hit us up on the text line 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, and we'll read them on the air. 71307 is the text line. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air this morning. So as we've got a lot that we need to get throughout the course of the show. When we come back here in just a moment from right now, let's get some NFL discussion here as we get set for the final week of the NFL's preseason, which starts up this evening. Cincinnati in the mix, the Bears and Chiefs in the mix. Anthony Richardson, is he a go or not? We'll break all that down next after Lonzo soothes you with the stylings of this sports flash.
Like a lozenge. The Atlanta Braves dropped the second in a 3-game set to Philadelphia Phillies, 3-2, bringing the series even at a game apiece. Max Fried gave up 2 runs on 4 hits in 7 innings. The Braves collected 9 hits, but couldn't find the win despite multiple base runners in the bottom of the 9th. Philadelphia's lead in the East is now back to 7 games, and Atlanta is a game and a half up on the Mets for the final wild card spot. The Denver Broncos have named former Oregon Duck Bo Nix their starting quarterback, making him the first signal caller to start as a rookie since John Elway in 1983. Nix is also the 5th oldest rookie to start a game at 24 years old. Nix was 8 of 9 for 80 yards and a touchdown in Denver in their last preseason game. Tune in tomorrow night, 7 p.m. as the Burns Rebels get the high school football season started as they head to TL Hanna to take on the Yellow Jackets. It's Burns versus TL Hanna tomorrow night at 7.
Up to the minute, upstate traffic. The Cordell and Cordell crash cam shows that accident southbound 85 before 276 Malden Road. It's cleared out and things are getting back to normal. Elsewhere, up and down 85, you're running at posted speeds. A drive over and back between Greenville and Spartanburg on 29 Wade Hampton is a pleasant drive. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on The Fan, Upstate.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from...
I wish my voice was that deep. I do, Donovan, because that would be awesome. You know, it seems weird to say. There's probably some people out there who don't know who Barry White is. Some of the young folks.
Jones, a loving desire for someone or something.
Neither one of us hit the lows that Barry White hit.
Dude, if I had a Barry White voice, that would be my radio voice.
I don't know if that would work in sports though.
Oh, it absolutely would. Are you kidding me?
Can you bring energy with a Barry White voice? I don't know if you can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I guess it's a different kind of energy.
Let's talk about DJ Uyunglele.
Yeah, that's bedroom energy. That's not sports.
What the hell do you think Barry White is?
Right, but that's not sports radio.
I mean, you might have the largest female listenership in sports radio.
Ain't nothing wrong with that, but still,
not at all. That's a goal of mine.
Do you lose the guys out of jealousy though?
I don't know, dude. Like I hear voices like that and I just immediately, I mean, I get jealous, but I'm not going away from it. Are you kidding me? Barry White was a legend. Who do you think is going to make the college football playoffs? That's what we need to do. We need to parody commercials. Sexy sports radio.
That would require someone to have time to do them. Just saying. I mean, I could do it. But all
right, I'm writing a script. While I'm sitting at the body shop today while they look at my poor car. Anybody but me remember the Space Jam album? I bought the Space Jam album. It was spectacular. And there was a song on it called Basketball Jones.
Which is a very old song, was out way before Space Jam.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But it was on the album.
Yeah.
And that was my first exposure. It was a love letter to basketball, except like if you were trying to take basketball out to a candlelight dinner, if you get my drift.
No, and what's a drift? What that has to do with snow?
Yes, it was amazing, William Brady. The Space Jam album, one of my favorite albums of all time. It was so good.
Did you just call William Brady Wayne Brady? I'm pretty sure you did.
No, I didn't.
Upstate.
Do you guys think Barry White could do sports radio? That's what we were talking about on the live stream during the break. Facebook.com/TheFanUpstate, The Fan Upstate on YouTube, The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. Join us on our live stream. We are live all 4 hours, all 5 days a week, every day, except when we don't want to be, and then we're not. But between here and there, join us on our live stream every single day. Listen, here's the deal. We want the stream to take off. That's why we do the stream every day, but it only works if you guys join in. So join us on the live stream when you get to the office, as you are now, because it's after 8 o'clock in the morning. You better be at work. You lazy bones, you. When you get to the office, put us up on your computer. Get yourself an extra. Go grab your chief engineer, the one that, doesn't want to be the chief engineer. Go grab the chief engineer and be like, hey, and call him chief because they love that, all right? And you want him to be nice to you. So go, hey, chief. Could I get a dual monitor set up in here? Could I get an extra monitor? I feel like I would be extra super duper efficient at my job if I had a dual monitor. And once Chief gives you a dual monitor, what I want you to do is take that second monitor and I want you to watch the live stream. Join us every day for all 4 hours of the show on said live stream. So during the break, I don't even know how it came up.
Well,
but,
it was on the stream. Someone said I was the Barry White of Sports Flashes, which I'm not. Although
no, you're definitely not, and neither am I. Oh, Donovan. Donovan said that Lonzo is the Barry White of Sports Flashes, to which we ended up in a conversation about Barry White. And then I said, could Barry White do sports talk radio, right? Could Barry White open up the mic and go, let's talk about DJ Uiagalelei. Let's talk about the Knowles. Let's talk about the Gamecocks. Lenore Sellers out there at QB1.
Would it work? There's just something that you don't have. I don't know what it is. There's no depth to your bass. I mean, so you can't. I mean, you could tell you're lowering your voice. With Barry White, that was his voice. So
I mean, listen, Lonzo, if I had a naturally Barry White voice, I'd be in a recording studio somewhere today, not sitting in my bro cave, my man. I'd be off somewhere recording the next vocals on the next hit R&B record, not in here talking about the college football playoffs. Are you kidding me? Nobody has a Barry White voice. That's why Barry White is Barry White, and the rest of us are Barry not.
He was. I believe he's no longer with us. I could be wrong. Now I gotta look and see if Barry White's dead.
All right, time to talk some National Football League. Now, see, it's not even.
Barry White's been gone for some time. He died July 4th, 2003.
2003. It's time for the final week of the NFL's preseason. The Indianapolis Colts on the road at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Chicago Bears on the road at the Kansas City Chiefs. Will we see the starters tonight, or will it be backups backing that thing up? All right, that's enough of that.
Yeah, because it just doesn't work. I mean, I could have threw the music up there and it would have worked better. I'm trying to think if there's anyone in this building who could have the depth of Barry White.
Oh, there's absolutely not. There's absolutely not.
I think the boss. You haven't heard the boss is on air. He's got those depths to him.
That's true. I wonder, he's got to have some old clips on YouTube or something I can go
No,
find.
he's been on air when you first came here. He was on air. So
actually, I take that back. I think I've heard him before because I think very early in my Greenville residency, I think I was flipping channels when I had just moved here and I was like learning the radio programming around here. And I think I stumbled across him one day on, I guess it was The Planet. And I was like,
he was on Classic Rock 101
Classic Rock, that's what it was.
doing an air shift for a while. I don't think he does it anymore, but
yeah. I think I crossed it. I'm like, is that the boss? Because that's not, I wish he talked to me that way at the office when I screwed up. You know, that'd be a lot more soothing.
That would make me even more uncomfortable. No, thank you.
All right, let's get some college. Let's get some National Football League in here. We'll remind you coming up at 8:40 this morning. Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast is going to join us. The Panthers taking on the Buffalo Bills on the road in their final preseason contest. Might this be the week that we see QB1 Bryce Young out there? Reports coming out right now, and we can dive into this a little bit. There's a term that I like to use when it comes to being a fan of a bad base, Lonzo, of a bad team. There are two. I call them mental drugs. Okay, and I'm not talking about like real drugs. All right, I call them mental drugs. And those two mental drugs are copium and hopium. Have you heard these expressions before? Copium and hopium?
No, I don't hang in those circles.
You mean Twitter? Yeah, you do. I've seen you there. All right. Don't try to play holier than thou. You're an Xer just like the rest of us, great one. I've seen you.
Copium and hopium sounds like something that you get at Studio 54. I don't know.
Very different than the substances you would pick up at Studio 54. Copium is when you realize that the thing that you love is bad, so you start making up reasons that no, actually, it's very, very good. You, other person, just don't understand it, right? Copium is when, say, you're a fan of a, I don't know, like 2-15 football team. And even though nothing is getting better for you, you start finding dumb little things to say are getting better for you. Copium is when your team is 2-15, and so you start dialing in on, we got the best jerseys in the NFL, y'all. Okay, fine, whatever it is that you need to do in order to not focus in on the fact that your team stinks. That is copium. And then on the flip side, there's hopium. Hopium is when you actually do have something that you can lean on, but it is something that you really start to lean on. Like it's the only thing that you focus on to deal with the fact that, well, things are great, right? Well, the Panthers right now have a little bit of hopium. The hopium is Bryce Young's been killing it at practices lately. Bryce Young's been on point. He's been on target. He has had accurate pass after accurate pass. And just to address the thing that the great one has been hanging on for some time now, in fairness, and this is why I say it is hopium and not actual hope. Of course, the practice footage we're going to get is practice footage that is hand-selected by the Carolina Panthers. You are getting highlights, and nothing but highlights. But I think it's okay to read a little bit into highlights. I don't think it is okay to set your entire expectations based on highlights. But I do think it is okay to ingest the highlights if there are a lot of them and assume, well, there must be something going right if there are this many highlights for us to ingest. I've been following the Panthers a little bit across the videos they've been putting up on YouTube from practices, from different beat reporters that have been covering this team and going to the open portion of practices, etc., etc. And what I can tell you from the discussions that have been going on amongst those who have been covering the team in person. And we will talk to Rashad Beard about this coming up in about 30 minutes from right now. Not only does Bryce Young look pretty good when the team is going 11 on 11 full team scrimmages, but he looks very comfortable in the pocket. He looks very comfortable in the face of a rush. He looks more comfortable than he looked last year in terms of familiarity with this offense. I am not saying BY9 has mastered this thing. I am not saying that BY9 is suddenly playing Pro Bowl caliber football. What I am saying is that the biggest concerns that the Great One and I have had about this young man leading into the 2024 season seem to be things that Bryce Young has improved during the offseason. From what I understand, the footwork in the pocket looks much more polished. From what I understand, the decision-making on when and where to release the football looks a lot more quick and crisp than it has in years gone by. And on top of all of that, and this is my favorite part, because if you've been following the show, you know that my biggest discussion point about BY has been at the end of the day, you can only be as good no matter what job it is that you are doing. You can only be as good as the equipment around you allows you to be. And I have said time and time again that while I respect, appreciate, acknowledge, and commend the effort that Adam Thielen put in last year as wide receiver one for this team, Adam Thielen is not a wide receiver one. He is not an X wide receiver. That is your primary wide receiver. That is your wide receiver that lines up opposite the tight end, because you know that he's the guy you can trust to get open when he is on a premier defender, so you want to give him more room to operate. That's not Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is your Z wide receiver. He is your slot wide receiver. He is the wide receiver that you put him wherever you feel like there is going to be a coverage gap in the defense. So I appreciate Adam Thielen's work as an X. I need him as a Z. I need him as a slot. This is why I've said the most important thing for the Carolina Panthers to do is figure out who the Y receiver is going to be. That is the wide receiver that traditionally lines up on the line of scrimmage on the same side as the tight end opposite the X, usually with the slot receiver underneath him, that of course being Adam Thielen. Who's that going to be? Is it John Mingo? Is it Terrace Marshall Jr.? Is there going to be someone else that steps up into the mix? We will find out. That, to me, is arguably the biggest question that the Carolina Panthers have yet to resolve. Who's going to be that Y wide receiver? What I will say is this. Deontay Johnson is getting open. Deontay Johnson is finding gaps in the defense down the field that he has been manipulating in order to create space. And when he does, Bryce Young has been finding him. Do you know what happens when you have a Deontay Johnson who is able to get down the field rapidly, make a cut, and draw defenders with him because he becomes a danger to cut inside, outside, near, or far. All of the sudden, a guy like an Adam Thielen becomes infinitely more dangerous, because if Deontay is getting down the football field and he is pulling defenders with him, all of a sudden that safety at the top of the field, he's got to play a little bit deeper. And not only does he have to play a little bit deeper, but he's got to play a little deeper, and he's got to play a little deeper shaded to wherever Deontay Johnson is. What that means is one of two things. Either A, there's going to be a gap in the coverage where he leaves, hello Adam Thielen, or it means a second level defender, an outside linebacker, an underneath quarter, whoever. Somebody has got to slide into that gap in coverage. And of course, that means what? That means they leave a gap in the coverage. Hello, Adam Thielen. That is, once again, the job of the Z wide receiver. In this case, your slot. In this case, Adam Thielen. That is what that guy is a master of the craft at. And if he is a master of the craft, and Deontay Johnson is indeed not just getting open down the field, but also drawing coverage to him because of it, now, not only does Bryce Young have the over-the-top wide receiver that, as much as we all love Adam Thielen is not. But on top of having that open over-the-top wide receiver, now he's got an open slot receiver, or at least the opportunity to pick between the two. And from what I am hearing right now, and again, we will ask Rashad Beard about this in about 35 minutes when he joins us on the program. From what I am hearing, not only is the new DJ, Deontay Johnson, getting open, but Adam Thielen is having an easier time getting open underneath. And the most important thing about that in its entirety is that Bryce Young's getting him the football. He's getting him the football on time. He's getting them the football out of breaks. He's getting them the football away from the coverage. And he is taking advantage of the strengths of a newly built wide receiver core. And that is Dave Canales' biggest strength. And from what I can tell, from what I'm hearing, from the little bit that I'm seeing, despite not knowing that it is absolutely all and entirely play highlights from the Panthers that I have seen so far, I've seen it as well. And I'm pretty pumped about it. Rashad Beard joins us at 8:40 to talk Panther football. When we come back here in a minute, let's take a look at some of the preseason matchups we have seen, some of the preseason matchups we will see, and glean what lessons hast thou learned thus far from the NFL preseason. We'll talk about that next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
New life.
Hey, Alexa, Google, or Siri, play 97 The Fan Upstate.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to tell you about my friends at New Life Weight Loss. I don't know what else to tell you. Results matter, do they not? I don't care who you're working with or why you're working with them. If you are working with anybody, results matter. If you are not getting results, you're not going to continue to work with them, right? There is a reason I am still working with New Life Weight Loss. And the answer is the results. The results that I have seen, the results that I will continue to see, and the results you can't see. What do I mean by that? I'm glad you asked, hypothetical listener. Allow me to elaborate. The results I've seen, I am down 44 plus pounds with New Life Weight Loss. The results I've seen, I am down 10 inches off the waistline with New Life Weight Loss. The results I've seen, I put on my wedding suit and I look good. I am confident. I am comfortable. It is the first time in a long time that I can say that. Those are the results that I've seen. The results I haven't been able to see because they're not tangible, but they are very, very real. My habits have changed. My eating habits have changed. My relationship with food has changed. So I know that when I hit my goal weight, and by the way, I hit my original goal weight, and I hit it so much more rapidly than I thought I would with New Life Weight Loss, that I set a new weight loss goal. Instead of the 215 I originally went for, which I am under now, by the way, thank you for asking. I have changed that goal weight to 205 by the time the wedding rolls around. I may actually not be able to get to my goal weight because I ordered a custom tailored suit for that 215 mark. I go to 215, that suit may be too big at that point. That's how well New Life Weight Loss has worked. Have you heard me talking about it and thought, I don't know, like I want to do it, but I don't know if now's the time? Guys, now's the time. Because if you call New Life Weight Loss between now and the end of August 31st, 9 more days at 864-686-5820, and you tell them you heard about them on the Rob Brown Show, New Life Weight Loss will give you $250 off the program, but you have to call them right now. 864-686-5820 before the end of August, and you will get $250 off the New Life Weight Loss program. 864-686-5820. It is New Life Weight Loss.
While the training camp portion of Panthers practices has come to a
Good morning, legendary Sports Talk Radio broadcaster Chris Miller. Welcome in, my guy. Good to see you, buddy. Yes, one more day until high school football gets underway. You are correct. 2 more days until college football gets underway. And then it's just a very, very short countdown until NFL football gets underway. I don't know about you, bud, up there in the northern portion of the Southern Carolina, but I can feel the football in the air outside, bud. I can feel the football in the air. There's a certain crispness in the air yesterday, today, and I assume as we move towards Saturday and week 0, even more. But thanks for coming by, Chris. Good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you being here as always, my man.
You can be nice to them all you want. You're still not going to make up for the fact that you missed the Star Awards. It's just not going to happen.
We talked on Twitter. I think we got it worked out.
Would have been more fun if you were there. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's true. I'm not going to disagree with that. It absolutely would have been more fun if I was there. But I still had a lot of fun that weekend.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or belts slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Granger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call ClayGranger.com.
So the new vehicle for Starfield, it's awesome. your follower who you have with, no matter who they are, they comment on your driving. Mine was not really good. There are a lot of rocky planets. You know, you'd be cruising along, you hit the boost and just run right into a rock. I haven't been able to blow it up yet. I'm trying. Well, yeah. I mean, you need to know where the threshold is so you don't do that again. It does have a missile launcher on it, and you don't have to yield to pedestrians. That's all I'm saying.
You wouldn't if you did.
Well, they were space pirates, so, you know. My goal is to there are some places you can find when you come over a ridge and there's actually a pirate camp. I would like to be able to find said pirate camp, go back, get my vehicle and jump on top of the camp. That's a goal for today. I should be able to beta test every game. I'd break every single one of them. 30 seconds.
Ready to kick off the 2024 college football season. Hi, everybody. Dan Scott, voice of the Paladins here, inviting you to join me and all of the
Rashad needs to come in and tell us that Bryce Young is playing Saturday. That's what he needs to tell us.
Paladins go into SEC country to take on Ole Miss. The Pepsi pregame show will begin at 5:30 p.m. with the kick at 7 o'clock. It's Furman, Ole Miss, opening the 2024 college football season. Catch all the action on the Fan Upstate.
Sound off on the text line.
At 71307.
Keyword fan.
You're listening to the program show only on the Fan.
Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show continues, rolling through, I should say, hour number 3 of the broadcast. Rashad Beard joins us in the next segment to talk a little Carolina Panther football. Looking forward to having Rashad joining us here on the show. We have got a couple of discussions that I want to get into on the radio broadcast. We've done a lot of college football. Let's continue with the NFL here on the show, as that's what we've really kind of been dialed in on so far this week. What lessons have we taken away from the NFL's preseason so far this week? Because there is no doubt that there are a lot of them. The first I'm going to jump into, Lonzo, is people need to calm down about the preseason for sure. All right. And I said this yesterday on this show. I said it on You Bet on the BetQL Network. I said it on my guest spot on BetMGM last night. Folks have got to calm down about the preseason. And I am talking specifically about fans of teams that are going to be reliant on rookie quarterbacks this year. And first and foremost, I'm looking at the New England Patriots as my number one example of this year. Drake May had himself a pretty good, not great, but a pretty good showing in preseason game number 2. Game number 1, he threw 3 passes, he completed 2, and there were some, not many, but some Patriots fans that were just convinced that guy's him, right? That's him. He went 2 of 3. Okay, it's preseason, and he went 2 of 3. Maybe relax. He came in game number 2, played much more extensively, had a pretty good completion percentage, and a rushing touchdown off of a read option that he read and optioned, frankly, quite well. And the Patriots fans ready to crown Drake May Tom Brady volume 2.0. Relax, dudes. Chicago Bears fans. Yesterday evening, again, BetMGM tonight. Did my weekly spot every Wednesday at 7:20 p.m. And when I did, they wanted to talk about a couple of different things, including the AFC South, which we will get to coming up here in a little while, because I am sure Lonzo and I will have differing opinions on how that conference or that division shapes up this year. We'll get to that here in just a little while. The concept of the rookie quarterback being a messiah is something that I think even Bears fans need to relax on. Caleb Williams, of the rookie quarterbacks, I would argue, and I might be eating some crow about Caleb Williams. I like Caleb Williams. Part of the reason I like Caleb Williams, and I said this earlier in the week, Caleb Williams is very much Caleb Williams, and unapologetically so, right? Caleb Williams took a lot of crap for crying when USC lost to Notre Dame last year. Did it care? No, didn't seem to care at all. Caleb Williams took a lot of crap for painting his fingernails. Did he stop doing so? No. In fact, quite the opposite. He showed up to the draft with them painted. He showed up to his first day with the Bears with them painted and did not care at all. Caleb Williams took a lot of crap for having a pink phone case, showing that fans will do anything to mock professional football players. Did Caleb Williams change up his phone case? No, he didn't. He kept rocking the one that he liked. Caleb Williams took some crap for the different types of suits that he was wearing, not your traditional three-piece business suit. Did Caleb Williams care? No. He still went down the path of being a fashion icon. Did not care, does not care, has not changed a damn thing. Which is why yesterday, when the Hard Knocks episode from this week aired, Caleb Williams said into a camera, great one, that he hasn't been nervous before a football game since high school. And a lot of people, specifically on X, because it is a cesspool, a lot of people jumped all over Caleb Williams. They said, what? How? You've played in so many big games. You have to be a competitor would be nervous. A take that, while I think I understand, I think some people have this, thing, this hang up, if you will, that if you're not doing it my way, that if you don't think about a thing the way I think about a thing, that if you don't do a thing the way I would do the thing, if you don't feel about a thing the way that I would feel about a thing, then you're doing it wrong, as if we are not all different people with our own different chemical and electrical impulses in our brain that make us think and act differently from each other. Caleb Williams, as the kids say, DGAF, all right? He doesn't care. He doesn't care how you feel, whatever. And that, to me, I actually really like that as the mark of a probable successful quarterback. That's the type of dude that I feel like the outside noise will not impact him as it does other guys. I'll tell you one guy I am concerned about that happening to, and it's a guy that I have told you multiple times this offseason I actually think is going to be fine, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson cares so much about his damn brand that I think outside noise actually does impact him a little bit. And while I do think that he has the opportunity to be the better of the two quarterbacks in Pittsburgh, I also know I don't know why that's funny.
Because they've been showing stats all morning on TV about how much better Justin Fields has been than Russell Wilson.
That's how much better in that one preseason game that's they played.
It's more than Justin Fields has played in 2 preseason games. You're going to be so wrong on this. I can't wait. I can't wait.
We will find out. regardless of how we feel about that particular situation, I do believe that Russell Wilson is susceptible to the outside noise, and I think that could be a major problem for Russell Wilson, not Caleb Williams. However, I would also say to the fans that are leaning on NFL rookie quarterbacks to be the football messiah of their particular community and or franchise, relax a little bit, because unless you have a Caleb Williams, and there's only one of them this year, the more that you pile on to the shoulders of these young guys, the more that you drop on their shoulders, the more likely it is that it is going to be too much, as Doc Holliday would say, a burden to bear. It's a lot of weight.
I'm curious. Do you think Caleb Williams is going to have more victories for Chicago this year than what they had last year?
Yes.
I don't.
Yes, I do.
I don't. He's looked good in preseason. All the painting fingernails and all that kind of stuff, I think that's a work. I really do. I think that's a look at me type thing. And you're right, he don't care, but I think he's trolling with that, but we'll see. And I don't know that they have any better of a season this year than they did last year.
I understand that. I do. I think there's already an upgrade. I'll tell you right now, and again, I guess I'm almost kind of going against my own thing that I just said a minute ago. That thing being maybe, just maybe, relax a little bit because it is the preseason. But Caleb Williams has shown one thing to me that Justin Fields did not as a Bear, and that is not freaking out when he's under pressure and immediately going to the legs, which is the biggest issue Justin Fields has. Was anytime he felt pressure, he just immediately wanted to pull and run. Caleb Williams is already more composed in the pocket.
He didn't have a choice because their offensive line was really bad. He didn't have a choice. And if that offensive line hasn't been upgraded, he's going to have the same problem this year. I don't get the hype. This quarterback class is the worst in probably 10 years, and I don't see any of them going very far in the NFL. But we'll see. Again,
I'm gonna make a note. I'm gonna make a note to circle back around to start the 9 o'clock hour before Fight Club with the great one at 9:20, because it is amazing to me that something that I have said in defense of Bryce Young, and you have lit me up for it. You just use the same defense for Justin Fields when Caleb Williams has played behind effectively the same offensive line. We got to run to a break.
I know I did. I did not.
Yeah, absolutely did, because my guy Rashad Beard is waiting in the wings. So when we come back here in just a minute, we talk a little Carolina Panthers.
Is that like an extra wing of a mansion or something? What is waiting in the wings?
Waiting in the wings is a showbiz term, because off to the side of the stage are the wings of the stage. And so if you're an actor waiting to come on stage and deliver your performance, you are technically waiting in the wings.
Wow, you just slapped me in the face. Thank you.
With knowledge. You're a smarter person now. You know who else is going to be a smarter person? All of you Carolina Panther fans when Rashad Beard joins us in the next segment of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Spencer Schwellenbach, the starter for Atlanta. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive.
All right, we are back. Rashad Beard, what's happening, fella?
I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash in the Fan Upstate.
Why can I not hear Rashad Beard?
Cordell Construction.
Because you're really loud.
They finally threw up the road.
I got the commercials going too, but I still should be able to hear him.
I hear commercials.
There he is. What's up, big dog?
What's going on, guys?
How we feeling, brother?
Good.
Got the PNP Army trickling in. Welcome to the Panther Nation podcast. Fans and comrades that are joining us. I didn't get a chance to watch it yet. How'd the roundtable go?
It was good. Good stuff. A lot of trash talking.
I like
especially
that.
from the Falcons. Falcons
No,
are
stop it.
yeah,
Not them.
On the high horse right now, obviously, rightfully so, with all the additions that they made. So they're a little hype.
I got them picked to win the division. I got them picked to make the playoffs by winning the division. And even though it would make me look wrong on the radio, Rashad, nothing would make me happier than to watch them crash and burn.
I agree. We typically do predictions every round table, and I also picked the same Falcons to win the division, and go to the playoffs. But I agree with you. I would love to see them fail miserably.
I have said for years, Rashad, I will, as a Saints fan, I will have friendly back and forth with Panther fans all day. All right. I like Panthers fans. I have not been to Charlotte wearing full black and gold and not have a killer time. All right. Panthers fans are great. They're fun on the show. They're fun on your pod. They're fun at games, whatever. I can have a good friendly rivalry with Panther fans. I can't stand Atlanta, dude. I can't stand I've never been to Atlanta and walked out of there going, that was fun.
Yeah. Falcons. I don't really enjoy them too much either, but hey, it is what it is. They exist.
They exist.
Maybe you should move your shirt down just a little bit. I'm just saying because I realize it's the Millennium Falcon, but it does have Falcon on it. So the whole time you're talking, and it has Falcon colors. I'm just saying, you can go ahead and take that off and throw something else on if you want.
The list of good Falcons starts and ends with Millennium and Peanut Butter, and those are the only good Falcons.
Always live on the Free Odyssey app. Now, the Infinity Sports Network. Get in the game on the Rob Brown Show.
Only on the Fan. The Fan. Upstate.
It's the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. It is Thursday. It is 8:40 a.m., which means it is time to take a roadie, virtually, of course, right up the road to Charlotte, North Carolina, and that is where we find our next guest. He joins us every Thursday at this time to talk a little Carolina Panther football. He is the host, one half of the Panther Nation podcast. He, of course, is Rashad Beard joining us here on the show. What's up, fella? How we feeling, big dog?
What's going on? Feeling good. 1 week closer to real football, so I'm excited. Right? Let's get it. Ready to go.
I'm at the point now where, we're in sports talk, and so we're supposed to talk about sports. But, as a football fan, Rashad, I've kind of hit the point where I'm like, bro, I'm done talking. Everything that needs to be said's been said. Every bit of trash talk we got in us has been let out at this point. The hate's out in the universe. Can we just strap them up and play at this point?
Yeah. We want, especially for Carolina Panthers fans, we have yet to see our starting guys play. And so we're itching, we're chomping at the bit to see our guys. So, this preseason can't be done soon enough. Next week, you got roster cut downs. And so, we're excited to get there. We want to see our guys. We want to see Bryce. We want to see the offensive line. We want to see Canales and the improvements. We want to see it all. And we just haven't seen it yet. So we're, a little antsy right now.
Talk to me a little bit about that, because that is something that Lonzo's been on for a hot minute now. Is Canales has not turned the starters loose. You told us last week not to expect them in the game against the Jets because of how many reps they got during the live scrimmage portion of the joint practice. We know Buffalo's not rolling the starters out this weekend, which led me to think, if you're going to turn the starters loose, this would be the weekend to do it, right? Send them out there, let them beat up on Buffalo's number twos, or at least try to get some reps in against Buffalo's number twos in some live action. Do we have any indication? Because my other thought has been, look, I get BY's gotten a lot of reps in practice. I know a lot of reps in practice is a good thing, but getting some road reps in, even against a half audience in a roadie in the preseason, getting some live reps on an away field against a defense full of guys trying to either make or solidify their spot on the team might be a good thing for the second-year QB in Carolina. Will we see the starters this week against Buffalo?
It's a double-edged sword, man. I really think it's a double-edged sword when it comes to playing together because I want to see them. I mean, that's for my own selfishness. I would like to see our starters play. Like, I want to see what we got. We haven't seen it all off season. We haven't seen it all training camp except for in the joint practices. So I want to see it. I want to see the pre-snap motion. I want to see Deontay Johnson, the Bryce Young connection has been hyped up all off season. I want to see it. But at the same time, I kind of get it, especially from the prior weeks, in that you didn't have your full complement of the offensive line, right? Damian Lewis dealing with some issues. You didn't want to throw it out there, throw your guys out there and potentially, get Bryce hurt or whatever the case may be, or injure guys even further. So I understand him not wanting to play the guys. Will he play them against the Bills? I don't know, man. Are we going to take that much away from them going against some twos, right? Is it that important? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I've talked to guys like Jonathan Stewart, and he says, listen, we don't need the reps. I don't need it. But at the same time, this is a new system. I don't know, man. I would like to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's I'm glad you said it that way, because Lonzo and I were kicking this thing back and forth a little earlier this week, and I kind of said the same thing. Like, wanting to see the starters that's just what we want, and what we want doesn't make what's best for the team. That's why fans don't get decisions of what an NFL team does. I think we all agree that this team needs the reps, right? Like, it's a first year coach, first year OC, first year playbook, first year scheme, first year for a lot of the guys working with BY. I've said a couple of times, the report came out last week that last offseason, the playbook changed 3 times before they got out there and started running it in the regular season. So I've made the joke, but it's not really a joke, that it's Bryce Young's rookie year, and I would treat him as if it was. But at the end of the day, and I hate to say this because it sounds so damn passive, Rashad, but this is a spot where I think as a fan, I just got to sit back and go, I trust Dave Canales to know what's best for this team. That's why you hired him. Let my man go to work.
That's literally been my message to the Panther Nation. This entire offseason, all the moves that we made, or lack of moves that we made, is that, hey, man, we don't know what we have. We don't know what we don't know. And I'm a data guy, right? We don't have any data that proves him to be right or wrong. This is the first time he's been a head coach. This is the first time he's actually pulling the levers on whether we're going to play starters or not, and whether it's going to work. Next year, things may change based on the data that we have this year. But as of right now, all we can do as a fan is just say, hey, let's trust him. This is not Matt Rule. This is not Frank Reich. He deserves a clean slate, and let's treat him as such. I know we want to see it as fans, but hey, let the man cook, and let's see what we got.
I mentioned this during the week. I think it would feel a little bit better if we at least saw Andy Dalton in there, because the quarterback play we're getting right now, it's no indication of what this offense is going to be. At least with Andy Dalton in there, you get a taste of what the Canales offense would be like, and I think that's also very frustrating.
I agree, Zoe, but Dalton's been injured too. Like, he's been dealing with the hamstring, so that's why you haven't seen Dalton. I think they are hyping him up as if he is going to play if he's healthy. But that's a part of the game, right? We've been dealing with so many injuries that's probably the reason why you're not seeing a lot of the guys. But I certainly agree. I think that Dalton helps us truly see what we have in our depth, right? We don't know what we have in guys like Jalen Coker, because you got Jack Plummer. All due respect to Jack Plummer, but he's not the guy we want throwing to a guy like Jalen Coker, because we don't know what we have yet. So I agree with those points. It's very valid.
Yeah, no, I do too, as far as that goes. But I'd also say every one of these sentences we said about it is, we want to see. Don't matter. No, it doesn't matter. All that matters is what is best for the football team. And the only person who can make that decision, and you hope it makes it right, is Dave Canales at this point. Let's talk practice here for a little while, because Rashad Beard, I said earlier, Panthers handing out a little free dose of hopium to the Carolina Panther fans lately, because the reports are right now that BY's been looking smooth in practice, that Deontay's been getting open and taking the top off the defense. Thielen's been able to do what he does best, which is find the spots in the coverage to sit down and present the numbers in a target to Bryce Young. Obviously, as far as what the Panthers give you, it's only going to be the positives. But you got beat reporters at practice right now that are saying, hey, BY's hitting the targets. The footwork's clean. He's taking his time and he's finding the right throws and then he's making them. Is this best foot forward, or is there a little something about BY9 in practice right now that's got folks legitimately feeling pretty good about it?
No, I think he's been getting better. I've seen it with my own two eyes. I've seen him go from not playing well at the start of training camp to getting better and better and better. And now you're starting to see the progression with us pushing the football down the field. That was a big concern during training camp, was like, hey, man, where's the deep passes? Why are we not getting the football or stretching the football down the field? And you started to see it at the end of training camp. So this just all goes back to us trusting the process, trusting what Canales is doing, and allow him to put in the work that he's done with previous quarterbacks like Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield. We've seen it work. Let's see if it's going to work here. And I think we're heading in the right direction. Again, you've got Bryce is better because the offensive line is now improved. The weapons around him has improved. So it's not just about him as an individual. It's about everything else around him. Everything else is better on paper than it was last year. So hopefully Bryce will also improve. And yeah, as far as the beat reporters go, there's some trusted beat reporters out there that really will keep it real and keep it honest about how Bryce Young is performing. If he's not good, they'll say he's not good. But if he is good, they'll give him the props to say he is good. So all signs are pointing to that he is playing well, and I should trust it. And just a quick call back to us not playing our starters. There's a positive aspect to that too, right? Somebody's going to get a little surprise week one, right? If nobody knows what's going on, nobody's seen our offense, somebody's going to get a little bit of surprise. And I think that's going to be New Orleans Saints. I don't know how you feel about that, but we could catch somebody off guard. You know what I mean?
No, listen, I absolutely agree. I'll tell you, I've already picked this team to split with every NFC South team. I'm picking them 1-1. I'm a little less optimistic about a split with the Falcons. You know, I can't stand an Atlanta Falcon. I'm happy to pick them to lose every game, but with the additions of Judon and Simmons like that, the defense got a hell of a lot better in 2 days last week. So I'm a little more apprehensive about Atlanta, but I think you're splitting with New Orleans. I went home and home. I think my team has taken a painful step back this year. There's an opportunity for Carolina to go on the road and win, especially if they have kept the smoke screen up. If BY is a different dude this year, if Deontay is that X receiver we wanted him to be, if that allows Thielen to be the Z wide receiver he always should have been out of the slot, there's some issues in the New Orleans secondary. There's some issues with the defensive line, which is the other spot, or with the offensive line, which is the other spot Carolina should be much better at, is across the defensive line. I got to tell you, man, Carolina's strengths might match up with New Orleans' weaknesses for a 1-0 start to the season. And if you come out of the gate with the dub on the road in week one, I think the entire mood around this team shifts immediately.
It will. And again, I don't think it'll surprise anybody if we do lose. But if we do go out there and are even like competitive, even if it's a close game, like I think we'll get some confidence going into the weeks prior or weeks after that, and I think we'll be able to capitalize on it. But don't be surprised. I mean, we really got to just let it play out. Let's see what we got. I know it sucks. We want to see our guys, but let's see what happens. I think we're going to be heading in the right direction for sure. I'm excited.
Talk to me real quick about the wide receivers. Got a couple more minutes with Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. We talked about him a minute ago. Deontay Johnson, from what I understand, running good routes, running crisp routes, getting open over the top. Adam Thielen there. I still think you got to find the why. I still think you got to find the two, the guy that's going to be in the middle. We've seen some bad out of TMJ and John Mingo. We've seen a couple of good spots out of TMJ and John Mingo. A couple of other guys on this roster that are trying to fit in. Is anybody taking that step forward to be the guy that's between? Is it going to be Xavier Legette? Have we seen anything out of him? Not in the games, but in practices that make you believe he's figured it out. Where do you guys stand with the number 2 wide receiver right now?
Yeah, if I had to call it right at this moment, I would say Mingo. Mingo has taken a big step. Some call him the camp MVP for training camp. or most improved, excuse me, not MVP, most improved player. He's working with Steve Smith in the offseason. He's gotten better. His route recognition or his route abilities, his route running abilities gotten better. And I would say recognition too. For those you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, he's gotten better. His hands, I know he had the drop in the first preseason game, but he's getting better. And I think all receivers has drops. Come on, let's be real here. Not everybody's 100% there. So it is what it is there. I think that we'll get better. Mingo's getting better. Leggett, we haven't seen much of him in training camp just because he's been dealing with injuries, hamstring here, ankle there. It's been a little banged up, little rough start for Leggett, but I do think he would develop into potentially wide receiver 2 some point down the road. But right now, I got to give it to Mingo, and I'm excited about the wide receiver group. I think they're all getting better, and I think we'll be fine there for sure.
I'm excited about the wide receiver group is a sentence that a Panther fan hasn't said in a very, very long time.
That is a fact.
One more before we let you go, Big Dog. We got on the road at the Bills. Like we mentioned earlier, Buffalo not going to play their starters in preseason game 3. I know we don't know if Carolina is going to yet or not, Rashad Beard, but as far as coaching individual position units, individual players, whatever, what's going to make Rashad Beard finish up this weekend saying, all right, I'm good with the preseason. I'm happy with what I saw. What do you want to see out of this team this weekend that makes you feel like that step forward you've been looking for got taken?
Yeah, and obviously we're going to see this because maybe our starters play, maybe they don't. But I want to see us continue to develop that depth, right? It's all good. It's a long season, right? Your starters, you protected them all preseason. Somebody's probably going to get injured down the road. I want to see that depth tested. And I want to make sure we have those guys ready to go if their number's called. Guys like Trevin Wallace have stepped up to the plate. I mean, I've come up here and I got to eat crow on every place I go because that's a pick that I did not like. And he is coming out here and he's doing a fantastic job. All praises for Trevin Wallace. He's doing really well. 3rd round pick. Nobody really liked it, but he's balling right now. Guys like Damani Richardson, undrafted free agent, who having a great offseason and training camp and preseason. He's doing a wonderful job there, testing that depth. We have some injuries at the safety position, so it'd be good to see him continue to develop. So I'm looking for that defense, guys. The depth on defense, especially from the pass rushers, guys like Iku Leota, DJ Johnson, they've got to step it up because I have a feeling we're going to be playing the waiver wire, looking for another edge rusher and another cornerback. So I think that depth is really something I'm looking for. Same goes for the offensive line. I know we signed these big names, but we need to make sure that depth is tested and is ready to go if their numbers are called. So it's all about depth. I want to see guys like Jalen Coker out there go out and make that final push to make the roster. It's going to be tough, but we'll see what he's got. Guys like David Moore, we got to see what we got in him. Mike Strawn, all those wide receivers that we talked about, we need that depth. So all about the depth for me and seeing what we got.
Rashad Beard is the host of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on X at Panther Nation PC. More importantly, get over to the YouTube channel, Panther Nation podcast. They are live all the time. Posted yesterday a live round table with fans and podcast hosts from the other NFC South teams. I'll be watching that later on this afternoon to check in. Make sure you follow them, turn those alerts on, and get subscribed to the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube. My guy, next time we talk, buddy, we're counting down to week 1, partner.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. Really quick, we having a marathon stream next week for Cut Down Day. We're going to go live the entire day to track everything. It's going to be fun because it's important. The Panthers have the number 1 waiver wire selection, right? So all these guys that get cut, we'll have the first right to select them and pick them up and put them on our roster. I'm pretty sure Dan Morgan, the company, are going to be playing that waiver wire to the T. So we're going to be watching it, covering everything. It's going to be a really, really fun stream.
Oh, I like it. You need somebody to kill time, call me.
Come through, man. Come through.
My man, Rashad Beard, host of the Panther Nation podcast. Big Dog, talk to you next week, brother.
All right, peace out, guys. Thank you.
Later on, Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast. Again, make sure you're following them on X at Panther Nation PC and on YouTube by searching and subscribing to the Panther Nation podcast. When we come back here in just a minute, a little bit more college football week 0 talk, and then Fight Club with the great Malonzo at 9:20. Talk a little MMA, a little boxing, a little pro wrestling, all coming up on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
The Atlanta Braves dropped the second in a 3-game set to the Philadelphia Phillies yesterday, 3-2, bringing this series even at a game apiece. Max Fried gave up 2 runs on 4 hits in 7 innings. The Braves collected 9 hits but couldn't find the win despite multiple base runners in the bottom of the 9th. Philadelphia's lead in the East is now back to 7 games, and Atlanta is a game and a half up on the Mets for the final wild card spot. Clemson Tigers secured their second quarterback of the 2026 class in the signing of Brock Bradley out of Birmingham, Alabama. Bradley also had offers from Wake Forest, Cincinnati, and West Virginia. Hey, you know what time it is? It's football time. Tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. as the Burns Rebels get the high school football season started as they head to TL Hanna to take on the Yellow Jackets. It's Burns versus TL Hanna right here when you're home for Burns Rebels football, the Fan, Upstate.
Up to the minute, upstate traffic. The Cordell and Cordell construction cam shows they finally threw up the road work southbound 85 at Pelham. Traffic is slow to stop and go back to the 101. Downtown Greenville, North Church is really stacked up between 123 and East Stone, and the intersection of Wade Hampton and Pleasantburg Drive is slow. From the News Talk 90.
All right. Enjoy some Kool-Aid while we're here. Like I said, man, the dose of hopium available is strong right now.
It's so lame. The hopium copium thing. It's lame, dude.
It's not lame.
It's lame.
Sometimes you just need a big old whiff of hopium. Something to hang on to. Something. It's all about hopium's all about the positivity, the power of positivity.
I don't need to tie my words to drugs. Hope is hope. It doesn't have to be tied to enhanced hope, whatever that is.
Sometimes you need a little extra optimism, a little extra positivity.
You're right. Hope is not strategy, but sometimes hope is all you have. Strategy only goes so far. It's the tools you have to make the strategy work, and sometimes you don't have those.
WORD Spartanburg.
Three friends in the first break.
And four.
The Upstate Fan.
Upstate.
An Odyssey Sports Station.
Man, check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Locked down.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed.
Only
The Fan.
Burn it down. Burn it down.
Off we go into the final hour of the Rob Brown Radio Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, with you, wrapping up our Thursday of broadcasting and moving ever closer to college football week 0, which gets kicked off at noon this Saturday. Florida State and Georgia Tech with the first action of the 2024 football season. SMU will play later on in that day out of the ACC as well. And then, of course, a little midnight madness as Hawaii and Delaware get going at midnight, 11:59 p.m. kick from the Big Island. And I will be tuned in. I will be tuned in till 3:30 in the morning watching college football. Don't call me on Sunday morning. I won't be up. I'm not playing golf. I'm not getting up to do radio. I'm doing nothing Sunday. I'm sleeping till noon because I'm staying up till 3:30 a.m. partying like it's 1999 because that was back when I was young and capable of partying until 3 in the morning. I'm bringing it back to the old school, staying up way past my bedtime. Because who doesn't want eyes on Hawaii and Delaware at midnight? Me. This guy.
Wow. Hawaii and Delaware.
Can't wait. The Hornets and the Warriors, baby, gonna be
which one's the Hornets?
That'd be Delaware. Who, by the way,
because when you think of Delaware, you think Hornets. Are you sure they're Hornets? You're absolutely sure?
Lonzo, your team's named after a nut.
Are you sure Delaware are Hornets though?
Yeah, I am. I only learned that, however, because the other day, I think it was the bus that was supposed to bring them to the airport to get on their flight to Hawaii was late, and so they missed their flight to Hawaii. So they actually had to schedule another bus to bring them to the airport to catch another flight to make it to Hawaii on time so that they could be prepped for this game. And my only thought was, there's a big group of people on a flight to Hawaii that are real happy because they don't have a bunch of big-ass offensive line sitting next to them.
I have to correct you because a lot of people in Delaware are probably pretty upset. It's Delaware State.
Oh, sorry, Delaware State.
Yeah, I mean, people get pretty offended when there are more than two teams in a state and you don't throw the state part on there, and that there's confusion. So it's Delaware State.
It's like if a school demands that you call them the school and you call them N school. It's very offensive, is what it is.
Well, N school is not grammatically correct, but if that's what you want to do, I mean,
You know what is grammatically correct? And Ohio State University.
I was going to say me very seldom.
All right. Keegan said, someone on the Rob Brown show offended? Never. No, couldn't be us. Couldn't be us, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we talked some Carolina Panthers with Rashad Beard in the last segment. If you missed that interview, we'll get it posted for you later on today and put it out on the social media as well, as I will have plenty of time while I sit in a body shop waiting to, fingers crossed, get my car fixed freaking finally. All of that being said, anything that jumped off the page at you about our conversation with Rashad? Because I got to tell you, Lonzo, I'm at the point now, as we have covered this team's off-season extensively, some of us breathing in the hopium to a great extent.
This is almost as bad as Glizzy. Almost. It's almost as bad as that. Yeah. It's not.
I spent the break trying to figure out how in the world I was going to work hopium and glizzy into the same sentence. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'll get it before the end of the show. All right.
I think I just did, but okay.
Well, I meant in a way that, okay. So, I'm kind of at the point where I don't really know what else there is to say, right? Like I don't know what else there is to say about this program, about this franchise. We've talked about the practices. Yes, Bryce Young looks better. There are beat reporters, as Rashad Beard pointed out, that cover the team on a daily basis that have no problem keeping it real and don't care if they are labeled a hater.
I hate interrupting. I don't really, but you say Bryce Young looks better. But we have to listen to someone else's opinion on that. We haven't seen him look better. So a couple people say he looked better. Maybe they're wearing Panther glasses and maybe they're trying to be extra positive and saying he looks better. Maybe he doesn't. I want my eyes on the product a little bit. Play him just a little bit in the preseason. Give me something. Give me a reason to tune in next week.
The reason to tune in next week is because it's football season. That's the reason. But I would say two things. I would say the first thing is exactly what Rashad Beard said. And as somebody who has played this role before, some of the folks that are saying good things about BY are, much like me when I cover a team, reporters that don't have any personal affiliation to the team and therefore don't have a problem being hypercritical when it's time to be hypercritical, right? This is why we had Anish Shroff on the show a couple of weeks ago, the voice of the Panthers, and Diesel asked him, what's the difference between being a national play-by-play guy that calls the games of every team versus the voice of a specific team? And Anish's answer was, it's you got to be very careful about when you're critical of teams that you are talking about when you are not a specific beat writer for that team, because all that happens is you get labeled as a hater, right? You get told, oh, you're just a hater, just a hater, just a hater, when you're just offering what you think is valid analytical criticism. Some of the folks that are covering this team, they're not connected to the Panthers. They don't have any reason to be positive or negative. They just have a reason to be straightforward, and they are the ones saying this. A. B, as I have talked about, as we brought up with Rashad, and as I've said to you a couple of times over the past couple of weeks, like, yes, we all want to see him play. Yes, we all want to see development. Yes, we all want to see what he looks like. But that's what we want. And what we want isn't always what is best for the franchise, for the quarterback, for the coach, for the team at large. And on top of all of that, going out this week and playing, let's say, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 series against the Buffalo Bills backups, I don't know how much that's going to tell you. That's not a starting NFL unit. That's a group full of reservists, of second string guys. So what's the difference between him doing that and him going out there and playing 60 snaps of live practice scrimmage against the Jets starters?
There's a big difference. We get to see it. So if he's so great in practice, and this is just a glorified practice when they play the second and third stringers from Buffalo, good. We get to see what he looked like in practice. And if he looked that good in practice against the Jets number ones, he should tear it up Saturday against Buffalo's 2s and 3s. I just want to see a little bit. That's all, just a little bit. And well, he could get hurt. You know what? He could get hurt in practice too. I mean, you can get hurt getting out of the shower. Show me something. Get out there and show me. I want to see a little bit. And I believe Panther fans want to see some too. Just show me something. Because right now it looks like you're hiding.
Again, get it. Understand, get where you're coming from. Again, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what we want. Doesn't matter how we feel. Doesn't matter. What matters is what's the best decision to make the football team the best the football team can be. And the answer is, if Dave Canales says him sitting the last week and getting his first real action against New Orleans in a couple of weeks, then that's the right decision. What we want is irrelevant. I know it stinks when you make the realization as a fan. College football fans are dealing with this very heavily right now. I know it stinks when you as a fan eventually come to the realization and the revelation that it's not about you and it never has been. Is it about us and that they got to sell tickets and put our eyes on the TV so that we can watch and enjoy football? Yes, but you know what does that more than anything else? Winning games does that more than anything else. So at the end of the day, the most important thing is that Dave Canales figures out what is best for Bryce Young, what is best for this team, and if it goes in direct contrast to what 100% of Panther fans think they want in the preseason, you're all just gonna have to deal with it and get ready for week one. Yes, it hurts our feelings, no doubt about it, but that is, again, largely irrelevant, because if the Panthers come out and they go on the road in week number one and they knock off the New Orleans Saints in week number one, even if in great protest you don't watch week one, you go, oh, they didn't play BY in the preseason. They didn't give me a reason to get excited, so I'm not watching week one. I'm protesting this. If they go down to New Orleans and they beat New Orleans in week one, I'm willing to bet about 99% of those protesters are coming back for week two, because would you look at that? We're 1-0 and not last in the division.
Last I checked, sports are entertainment. If I'm entertained, it affects my feelings. I feel entertained. I want to be entertained by this team. Play them a couple series.
I mean,
entertain me.
You will be entertained. You will be entertained if the team is good. And if the head coach, whose responsibility is the head coach's job is not to entertain. That's not his job. The job of the head coach is to make the best possible football team. And if Dave Canales feels like the best way to give Bryce Young the best chance to be the best version of Bryce Young and get the best results in the process is for him not to play Saturday and be ready for week one, then so be it. I'm going to trust Dave Canales until Dave Canales gives me a reason not to trust him. Matt Rule took 1.5 years to get to that point, but when he fell off the bridge, he fell off the bridge. And if Dave Canales comes out and looks like he's out of his depth this year, like Matt Rule did, looks like he's out of his depth like Frank Reich did, then I'll turn on him too. But for now, I'm going to trust the guy to know what's best for the football team that he's getting paid a lot of money to be in charge of.
How many times you got to get burned before you go, okay, all right, I'm not going to trust anybody till I see it? Because the Panthers don't have a good record in the last decade of putting a winning coach out there.
I don't disagree. And the answer is, until David Tepper calls me and makes me the general manager, every coach they hire, I am going to give the benefit of the doubt until I don't anymore, because I can't do anything else about it.
I hope he never calls you, because that would not be entertaining.
I disagree. I think it'd be entertaining as hell. Frankly, that's just me. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, it is 9:20. Almost. It's 9:16, but it's almost 9:20. And at 9:20 on Thursdays, you know what that means. Fight Club with the great Milonzo, your home for combat sports in the upstate. We get that next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Three friends.
Never miss a big moment with Rewind on the Odyssey app. Relive big moments. It's Rewind on the Fan Upstate.
Man, I don't know about you, but when I get my day started, I start putting my lunch plans together immediately. All right, I'm not ashamed to tell you, it's one of the first things I think about when I get going in the morning. What am I going to do for lunch today? Well, I have good news for you if you're in that number with me, or even if you don't think about lunch until lunch, let me make it easy for you. Let me help you not have to think at all. You don't have to think at all, because Three Friends Bar and Grill is your new lunch destination in Moonville and in the public shopping center on Wade Hampton Boulevard in Taylor's. Here's why you don't have to think, because no matter what it is that you are in the mood for, maybe you're in the mood for a salad, keeping it light because you got that long day at work today. Maybe in the mood for a salad, they got you covered. Maybe you want something, I don't know, how about a flatbread? I got to tell you, the other day I had for the first time, about 3 weeks ago, when I went and met the folks at Three Friends for the first time. Well, met them. I've been to Three Friends many times. It's like 1.5 miles from my house, and I absolutely adore it. But when I meant to meet the management at Three Friends, they brought out a Cajun shrimp flatbread pizza. Y'all, I lost my mind at that. And if you're a seafood fan, they got good stuff. Broiled jumbo shrimp, shrimp and grits, hand-breaded fried jumbo shrimp, beer-battered fish. I don't know about you. I'm a big fish and chips guy. Maybe you're not a seafood guy. Maybe you're a land lubber. Maybe you're a steak guy. How about the hand-cut ribeye? How about the slow roasted prime rib? How about the spare ribs? How about the 10-ounce hamburger steak or the top butt sirloin steak? Listen, if you're looking for somewhere for lunch, look no further than Three Friends Bar and Grill. They have something for even the pickiest eater. And on top of all of that, Three Friends makes their food from scratch, always fresh, never frozen. You are not getting something that was sitting on the back of a freezer truck that morning. You are getting something that was just prepared in the kitchen by a staff that cares. That is why Three Friends Bar and Grill is my lunchtime destination. And when you go try them for the first time, they will be yours as well. You can check out their menu online at Three Friends Bar. That's the number 3, threefriendsbar.com, or just go to Three Friends Bar and Grill in Moonville and in the Wade Hampton Publix Shopping Center. It is Three Friends Bar and Grill. All right, guys, be back with Fight Club in just a minute. Stay right there. I hope you do, James. I sincerely, I've been going to Three Friends for a couple of years now. They're right down the house, right down the street from my house. And so there have been a couple of times where if I go with the lady friend shopping and she has the extensive grocery list, I'll pop over there and have a beer at the bar. It's a great sports bar too. Ton of TVs, phenomenal place to watch the footy. Just make sure you tell them I sent you, please and thank you. But yeah, it's very good.
Peasants.
QT Glizzies do slap, Mac. You are not incorrect.
That, thank goodness, wasn't said live on the air.
Why? QT hot dogs are delicious?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Why is that bad? Oh, because we're promoting a non-sponsor? We do that all the time.
Yeah, you keep trying.
The QT Glizzies slap and the QT taquitos are a banger too. I'm a big fan of the buffalo chicken taquito and the spicy pepper jack taquito.
Why don't you just make some taquitos at home? I mean,
I have. As a matter of fact, there are spring roll wrappers because the other day I got Adventurous Alonzo, and I made.
I don't know if anybody wants to hear this.
That I made spring rolls?
No, that you got adventurous. Go ahead.
With my what's the word? With my cuisine art.
Your local Ingles.
I made spring rolls for the first time, and I got to tell you, I'm going to make spring rolls a lot.
The award-winning Rob Brown Show mornings
On the Fan Upstate.
I just don't think he's good enough to beat me.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart, I want to eat your children.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
The word oops comes to mind. I don't know why, but welcome into the Fight Club. It is it's Wembley week in AEW. You know, a year ago, it was the biggest crowd that AEW had ever had for an event. It was pretty awesome that they were able to do that. Not as many people going to be there this year, but still, it's still a major feat. This is a big-time card that's going to happen, and it's going to happen at 1 o'clock our time, Sunday. So, you know, if you wanted to watch some wrestling, this is the time. And you never know where Rob and I might end up watching it. You never know. I'm not going to say anything. Not going to say anything until, you know, we can say something. All right. This is for Kurtwall, by the way. There are 10 matches. Let us start with friend of the show, Chris Statlander, and Stokely Hathaway, not a friend of the show yet, versus Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii. I'm sorry. My bad, Tomohiro. I said it wrong. I know.
Golly.
I'm going to blame it on the printer again because you can't really see real well. All right, who you got?
All right, we're going with the stat match out of the. I honestly don't know in this one. I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a while, and I'm just gonna wing a bunch of these. I mean, friend of the show, I'm gonna go with the show bump. Give me stat.
All right, I am going to go with a friend of the show's friend. And go with Willow Nightingale in this match. All right, the next match is the Patriarchy, one of Rob's favorite stables, versus the Bang Bang Gang, one of my favorite stables, versus House of Black versus TBD. You got to watch out for those TBDs. I mean, you know, it is England. I don't think this has been announced yet. It could have been. I am going to go first, and I am going to be wrong by going with the Bang Bang Gang.
The Bang Bang Gang. Love the Bang Bang Gang. But yes, I am going to go. Screw it. I'll go the other direction. Let's have fun with this one. Give me the Patriarchy. Why not? Christian Cage is on the top of his game right now.
All right. Hello, guys. Hi, guys. The next match is Chris Jericho versus Hook for the FTW Championship. If Hook loses, he cannot challenge Chris Jericho again for that title.
So I'm going to go with Jericho, and I'm going to go with Jericho because Jericho's making a lot of noise right now, right? Like he's all over the internet right now, talking about the, you know, how he's not going anywhere and you're all going to have to deal with it. And you know, he said the other day that he still has a 6-pack and he can still go as well as anybody. And I went, is the 6-pack in the room with us right now, Chris? Are you okay, bud? But also apparently Fozzy is playing him out once again. He's not going to drop it. Chris Jericho has become the very thing that he used to rant against. And because of that, I go Jericho.
By the way, and I forget the date, I think Fozzy's coming to the radio room. I saw that somewhere in Greenville. So you might want to look that up and find out if you're in the state when it happens. I'm going with Hook there. All right. Jack Perry, the scapegoat, going up against friend of the show, Darby Allin, for the AEW TNT Championship. I love what Jack Perry has done since he come back? Did he need to be a heel? No, but I think he fits in well with the elite. I love him remaking the belt, but it's hard to go against friend of the show, Darby Allin. But I'm going to go with Jack Perry to win this.
I'm not mad about the pick as much as I love Darby Allin. By the way, did you see my dude Darby get thrown into the side of the steps last week?
Yeah, it looked painful.
It looked real bad. As much as I love Darby and I very much support Darby doing Darby things, I'm like, dude, I feel like that bump alone earns you like a year and a half off. They don't allow Jungle Jack or not that anymore to do what he did to that belt to immediately turn around and give it back. I don't like him. He doesn't, and I'm not talking about like as a character. I mean, Jack Perry doesn't entertain me all that much, unfortunately, but I am going to pick him here because they're trying to push him as a heel.
All right, first match so far that we actually agreed on. All right, the next match is the Casino Gauntlet. We're going to skip that because there are too many people, and who knows going to win that. All right, the Young Bucks, who are the current champions, tag team champions, versus FTR versus the Acclaimed for the tag belts. I can never go yes for FTR because they're liars. I love what the Young Bucks are doing as heels. I mean, they're pretending to be Vince McMahon, and I think they're doing a good job with that, with all the things that they're doing. I like the Acclaimed too. I'm going to go with the Acclaimed here.
Well, I was hoping you wouldn't because I'm going to go in that direction as well. I like the Acclaimed a lot, and I think this is a spot. I will say this. There's a lot of really good tag teams in AEW that I'm kind of getting frustrated that we're just rotating the belt between the same three tag teams over and over, and I hope that they correct that soon. But that's what we're doing right now. Scissor me, daddy ass.
Oh, man, I wish you hadn't said that on the air. All right, Toni Storm. Time was Toni Storm versus Mariah May. This is one of the better storylines that AEW storylines aren't great there, but this one has been thanks to the buildup. They took a long time to build this up. You knew Mariah May was going to betray Toni Storm at some point, and then there comes the shoe, the bloody shoe. And this is for the AEW Women's World Championship. I'm going Mariah May here.
Yeah, so am I. You've also got Toni Storm wrapped up in this other feud with Mercedes Moné, which produced last night one of the worst wrestling matches I've seen in a very long time, which saddens me a lot because I think Toni Storm might be the best thing that women's wrestling has going for it, with the exception, of course, of Tiffy Time. But Mariah May has been spectacular in this role as the heel, and I think she gets rewarded for it. I'll take Mariah May.
All right, just a couple more matches here. All right, the next match probably, I don't know the match order. I'm just going in the order of how this was printed out from Sports Illustrated, by the way. MJF versus Will Ospreay for the AEW American Championship. They had a face-off last night, which wasn't bad. I kind of like what MJF is doing, but at the same time, I don't understand why he turned. I think where he was really working for him. And I think he should have stayed there. Now he's even last night making fun of how he was able to get the kangaroo kick over. I think he's trying really hard to be a heel that I'm not sure he can be anymore because he's just still too likable, even with all the things he's doing. So he beat up Danny Garcia. Who doesn't want to do that? I mean, it just but Will Ospreay, Rob and I agree, the best wrestler on the planet. Brian Danielson doesn't agree with us. I'm going to go with Ospreay getting the belt back because they're in Wembley. I wouldn't be shocked if it went the other way, though.
I was 50-50 on this one until I noticed something, Lonzo. And the thing that I noticed is that AEW still refers to it as the International Championship, which means that changing it to the American Championship is a work to put some extra heat onto this rivalry. Will Ospreay is going to win it and immediately revert it back, because what else can he do, right? Like the face move is to bring it back to being the International Championship in London, where it's, international. If AEW started calling it the American Championship, I'd say MJF, but since they continue to refer to it as the International Championship, I think Will Ospreay is bringing it back.
All right. The next match, I don't care for that much because I was never a Sasha Banks fan. I'm not a Mercedes Moné fan. I think her promos are boring. They're condescending. I've never liked her, and I never thought she was that great of a wrestler. Friend of the show, Britt Baker, though, had a good line when she said, and I'm paraphrasing, "You were one of 4 while I'm one of 1." She said that in her face-off last night. I got to go with friend of the show, Britt Baker, in this match, and I wish Mercedes Moné would just go away, but that's just me.
I do like friend of the show, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. However, there's the backup, which is Camille. You don't bring her over and have her be the enforcer to not be involved here. I am all for friends of the show winning as many belts as possible because, hey, the more belts they have, the more belts we get to point out that the Rob Brown Show faction has won. But you don't bring Camille to the table unless she turns on Mercedes Moné, which I don't think there's a reason to do right now. This is not the time to switch. The CEO maintains her CEO status. Mercedes Moné for the win.
All right, there's another option here, and I don't know that because according to the dirt sheets, Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker don't get along anymore. But Jamie Hayter is from over there. You bring Jamie Hayter out to take care of Camille, and then immediately turn on Dr. Britt Baker.
Yeah, sure, but like, why wouldn't she just come out and join the Monet collection, right? Like, why wouldn't she just come out and go straight after Britt Baker? Now, that being said,
it would hurt worse. And then she would be going against Baker for the belt and not. Yeah, I think
this is a spot where you got to be real careful because the issues with friend of the show, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD backstage appear to be legitimate, real for sure locker room heat between people, not between characters. And if you start to bleed that over, there are spots where you can bleed that over into a successful storyline. See Seth Rollins and CM Punk after Punk's return to WWE. That can work out, but it's if those two people are willing to put that aside for the sake of being a professional. And as much as I hate to say it, because she is friend of the show and a phenomenal guest at that, apparently Britt Baker's caused some problems behind the scenes, and Jamie Hayter is one of them. So because of that, I think they keep those two separated for now.
All right, and finally, Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson. If Bryan Danielson loses, he retires. They're building this up so much about this being Bryan Danielson's last match, which is a good move because some people, I'm sure, are going, this is my last chance to watch him wrestle. I need to buy this pay-per-view. So, I mean, from a marketing standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. But when it comes down to, I think it's work. I really do. I'm going to go with Bryan Danielson actually wins the belt, something he has never done in AEW.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing, and it's for a similar reason, and it is that Bryan Danielson has never won the AEW belt, as he has been a pillar of this company from the very beginning. Though he is not one of the 4 pillars, he is absolutely a pillar of this company. I do think Bryan Danielson is very close to calling it a career, both with AEW and wrestling in general, and I don't think that they are going to send him away without a title run. And as the champion, you give a legend of the sport the opportunity to effectively call his last feud, to have his last feud with whoever the hell he wants as a dream feud, which I think is great. And I think a big deal for Bryan Danielson. So I am going to join you. Bryan Danielson is winning this belt as much. Swerve Strickland doesn't need the belt to be a star, and you can strap it back onto him from whoever takes it off Bryan Danielson in the go out on your back match that he'll inevitably have because he's an old school wrestler. Bryan Danielson wins. We get a dream feud somewhere with Bryan Danielson, and then Swerve beats that guy to get it back.
All right, one last thing as we go to break. John Cena was on Club Shay Shay. He said the GOAT is Roman Reigns.
I got to tell you, dude, as far as like turns from the crowd, Roman Reigns went from a guy that 4 years ago was getting go away heat, right? Was getting go away chants from the crowd when he came out at SummerSlam during the Cody Solo match. It might have been the loudest pop in how long? Since Edge returned at the Royal Rumble a couple of years back. Like, it was insanity. Roman has been incredible. And I'll tell you, because Cena was always catered towards the kids and Roman's kind of more for everybody, I don't think John Cena's wrong, but that might just be recency bias. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Hey, what's up? This is WWE Superstar R-Truth, and you're listening to your home for pro wrestling talk in the Upstate, the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. That's what's up.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash.
No, you guys are all wrong. Vince was right. He worked you all. He worked every one of you. Oh, well, the only reason why I like him is because when he turned to a heel, and we show Vince because we wouldn't cheer for him when he was a babyface. Vince was right. He got every single one of you, and you can't admit that you got. Rob got. James got. The majority of you people watching right now, you got. It's okay. We all get got at some point. Just admit you got. I probably got to turn you on so I can hear you. But
How did we got when we were, right?
See? Deranged Behemoth agrees with me. And if a deranged Behemoth agrees with me, then I'm obviously right.
You are a deranged behemoth right now. How did we get got?
I don't like Roman Reigns. And Vince said
right.
He would be the best. And he's the best of all time, according to John Cena.
Yeah.
And a lot of other people.
Yeah. Do you know what would have happened had he stayed a face like they pushed for 3.5 years? He wouldn't be. But then they did the thing that we said to do. And would you look at that? Now he's a GOAT. Of course. We were right. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Vince listened to you. And all those, he's the guy who always listened to the fans. No, he did not, especially near the end of his career. He did not. And out of all the things that didn't work for him, the one thing that did is how you got.
No, we did not get got. We were
Listen,
right.
Man, I don't get why you can't admit it. I mean, it's okay. It's all right.
Because there's nothing to admit. You're wrong.
They actually did absolutely did Deranged Behemoth, and it's funny that I know a couple people like that who believe that they're the reason why it happened, and they're not. He did exactly what he said he was going to do.
They kept shoving it down our throats. We don't want him. Blah blah blah. No. It's not that we don't want him. It's that we didn't want that version. That version of him was crap. When he was saying suffer and succotash and I'll kick you in your McNuggets, it was lame as hell, man.
And he was doing it still in the main event
Rob
scene.
Brown.
Whatever. You're wrong.
No, I'm not.
Out of all the things that you've been wrong about, and there's not that many, but in this case, you're completely wrong on this.
Yes, I am completely wrong about the fact that when he was saying to Sheamus suffering succotash and getting roasted by John Cena, hey, it's called a promo, kid. You should learn how to cut one. I'm not done.
Are you angry, emotional people?
Done.
You got that. You got.
I did not.
You got.
When he was a lame ass good guy, and we all said this lame ass good guy sucks. And nothing happened for years. And then he came out, as Rob Brown said on this show 100 times, make him an ass-kicking bad guy who just rips people to shreds, and I will be all on board. And then they did that, and then it worked. Because I was right, and BT Dubs, I don't believe it was VKM who made the decision to make the switch, BT Dubs. I think it was Triple H, and that's enough letters for a sentence.
All right, first of all, it happened way before Triple H took over, and he's been on top for a lot longer than you gave him credit for. Anyway, we're back.
Day mornings from 6 to 10 on the Fan Upstate.
For those of you that have asked, No, it does not get exhausting being right all the time because that's what I am, and it feels real good. To be honest with you, Rob Brown, the Great with Lonzo, with you here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate, wrapping up.
Sometimes you're not honest with us. That's what you're saying. Sometimes you said it feels really good to be honest with you. So sometimes you lie and say it feels good, but it doesn't.
Can I tell you what? I think that, and this isn't you because you're one of like 4 people, even just in our office, that say it. If you're gonna call out a very popular idiom, call them all out, not just the like. Yes, everyone says that. Everyone says, to be honest with you, it's a very popular phraseology.
I don't say that because I don't want to imply that I have been lying to the people.
That's
like I am for the people, of the people, and with the people.
That's
not
like
above the people.
That's like anytime someone says we're a democracy and somebody, I got to put my glasses on to do it. Anytime somebody says in this democracy and somebody goes, actually, we're a democratic republic. Yes, we know. It's just the way we say things.
Are we a representative republic? That's, that's what I thought we were, a representative republic.
I smudge my glasses and it's very.
You weren't wearing them anyway, so why does it matter? So now you're OCD having to get them clean and then set them aside. So
yeah, because I started leaning back in my chair in frustration, and when I lean back in my chair in frustration, the computer screen goes blurry. All right, I'm 40. Leave me alone. It is what it is. All right. Texter said, Rob, how can BY look better just basing it off of practice? We talking about practice. Yes, we are talking about practice. Thank you for texting the show, Allen Iverson. The answer is that a lot of the takes you are seeing this are from 11 on 11 full speed. And I'm not just talking about 11 on 11 full speed inter-squad scrimmages. I am talking about the joint practices. Last Thursday, the Panthers ran an 11 on 11 inter-squad scrimmage with the Jets. It was 1v1s, healthy starters versus healthy starters. And BY apparently was tearing up the Jets. And I got to tell you.
Allegedly. We didn't see it. So I don't know that it really happened.
All right. Well, I am going to say that when you get consensus reports from beat writers, people who will lose their jobs if they are wrong or making stuff up, and all of them who were there watching say the same thing, I am willing to, for now, take beat writers whose job is to tell you what happened, not what they thought about it, at their face value. And those reports were that against the Jets starters, Bryce Young was actually hitting his targets. He was throwing the ball with zip.
Hey, Rob, I listen, I know you got a lot going on and everything, but I don't know if you recall last year, we heard how good Bryce Young was in practice. We heard that all the time. Oh, he's great in practice. And then he got out during the game and it wasn't the same thing. So maybe that's why I'm a little jaded about the reports saying he looked good in practice, because I've heard that before.
I do not, and again, this is going to be entirely subjective, obviously. I do not recall the amount of hyping conversation about Bryce Young regarding his practice performances. And yes, we are talking about practice. We're talking about practice because we ain't played a football game yet. So it's all we have to talk about so far in the Dave Canales era.
You're right. If you watched all 17 games last year, he ain't played a football game yet. You're right.
Bryce Young, as we have said, and we're going to go down this route. I'm so happy football season's here because I am so tired of this particular rabbit hole. Last year's team was a cancerous dumpster fire inside of a bigger dumpster fire, buried inside of a nuclear waste reactor inside of Chernobyl. That's what last year was. And if you place all of that onto the feet of a rookie quarterback who got thrown onto a team that had 3 head coaches in 2 years, 0 starting wide receivers, an offensive line made up of 5 wet, dirty pieces of toilet paper, and a defense that had fallen apart entirely, and you decided that's the quarterback's fault. You don't know ball. Sorry. That's just all there is to it. I don't know what else to say. If you put what happened last year on BY and only on BY and not on Dave Tepper, who couldn't stop slamming his own genitalia in the door, and not on Frank Reich, who was the cure to freaking insomnia last year, and not on Matt Rule, the OOU master from the year before, who was the lit fuse to this stick of diarrhea dynamite, then I don't know what to tell you, all right? It was ass then, and it was not on 9, a rookie in the league. That's it. And,
you cut a heel promo trying to be positive, but it came across as a heel promo. I'm just saying. Yeah.
It is only a heel promo. To those of you that are out here going, Bryce Young sucked last year. Okay. I at this point, like I said, I'm very happy football season's here because I am out of words at this point. All right. I'm just play the game.
He's not really out of words. Stay tuned for the next 10 minutes, and he's going to be on like 2 shows today, and he's going to be on shows tomorrow, and then a show, Saturday. So if he was out of words, he would be out of a job, but he's not out of words.
That's very true. I will be on You Better You Bet from 3 to 7 today on the BetQL network. And then back here tomorrow for the Rob Brown Show from 6 to 10 a.m. And then back tomorrow on You Better You Bet from 3 to 7. And then bet for the cycle from noon to 4 on the BetQL network on Saturday. And then next week, I'll be on BetMGM tonight, as well as the Rob Brown Show from 6 to 10 a.m. and then 7 to 11 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then I think I'm back on You Better You Bet next Thursday and Friday. I'm not out of words. I just wish I got paid for them.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
Yeah, dude, like you're working for free. You ain't fooling nobody. All right.
I wish I got paid by the word, not
by the
for
word.
the words.
Okay, all right. Try saying no sometime. All right. The first thing that's Xing, as I tell Rob what's Xing, and he will tell us why, is General Bodie.
Why would I say no to blessing this country with my voice? General Booty is trending because General Booty, a transfer to the University of Louisiana Monroe, or is it Lafayette?
I believe it's Lafayette.
Lafayette has been named QB1. And of course, a good chunk of people on the internet just learned that there's a quarterback named General Booty. What I will say is this. I don't know about the football team. I don't know which direction that they are going to go. All I know is I'm probably buying an Ooh La La jersey this year because you're telling me I can buy a football jersey that the nameplate says Booty on it? Yeah, doing that.
So would your go-to call be, and that was a booty blast? I mean, how would you call General Booty throwing a touchdown?
I think throwing a touchdown, I think I would have to explain to everybody that whenever he threw a touchdown, I would congratulate him by going, "That's great, Booty."
Okay. All right.
Also, somebody on the text line just took my BY9 and said, more like BY59, LOL.
Oh, that's nice. That's well done. So well done. All right, the next team that's Xing is Oklahoma State.
I'm really mad that was that funny.
It was really good.
That was that funny.
Yes.
Real mad. Oklahoma State is trending. I don't know if it's for the reason that we brought to you yesterday at the beginning of the show, but that is because Oklahoma State Cowboys wearing QR codes on their helmet this year, where if you are a fan and you scan that QR code during the game, it will take you directly to their NIL Collective's website, where you can directly donate money to their NIL fund, a wonderful bit of creative marketing from the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And of course, it comes literally hours after Mike Gundy told his players, stop asking for more NIL money. We're not going to negotiate with you while we're in the season. We are going to do this thing to make it easy for the fans to give us NIL money, though. Frankly, I don't have a problem with either one. I don't care about Gundy saying stop. If that's the way you want to run the program, do it. And I don't have the problem with Oklahoma State trying to come up with new creative and fun ways to get more money.
Keegan on the stream says, can Derek Carr put one on his helmet so we can donate him money so he'll sit on the bench? So obviously Keegan doesn't agree that he's the third ballot Hall of Famer? Is that what's he at now?
No, he's a second ballot Hall of Famer is Derek Carr. But I think this is more in line with a lot of us really want to see Spencer Rattler get his crack.
That is Rattler.
Spencer
Yes.
Rattler get his shot at QB1.
A friend of the station, Shane Beamer, said.
Yeah, he is friend
Rattler.
of the station now. That's right. He made his appearance on Wire to Wire with Cole Bryson and Diesel without Diesel last week. That is correct.
Did a good job from what I understand too. I watched some of the video and heard some of it. And
I have no doubt.
Yeah, because he's excellent on the air.
Man says Python bit his while he was sitting on toilet.
Yeah,
Share his video.
I sent you the video, but I can't watch the video. I can't do it. Do you have enough guts to watch the video?
I need you to know there is a war raging in my head right now about whether or not I'm going to watch this video. I may or may not come with color commentary tomorrow. That color probably being fleshy and pink. That's it for our program. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, sucks to be you. Come back tomorrow. Maybe you'll like tomorrow's more. He is Lonzo. I am Rob. Have a lovely rest of your Thursday. Enjoy NFL preseason tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow to break down week 0 on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Later.
Real sports talk, real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate fan.
Excuse me, did he say fleshy and pink?
He has to leave because I have a 10:30 appointment at the body shop. So thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. See you back here tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.